Welcome in to Check the Mic. Happy New Year, everybody. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube, coming at you from the Bill Belichick is a fraud, Patrick Mahomes is overrated, and Sam Monson was wrong about Tom Brady studio. Yeah. All brought to you by FanDuel. It's 2026, and Sam, we're ready for the final full week preview of the season, but the first of the year, as producer Will.
2026, making it a mere, 12 years since I was wrong about Tom Brady?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit in yesterday's show, you know?
We did.
But how sometimes you can be very, very wrong. But
and I defend you and
coming
say maybe,
from a correct place.
Maybe your process was sound.
Yeah. No, I don't think it necessarily was.
Yesterday's show was fun. We ranted, raved, talked all sorts of, talked ball. Talked about the Steelers, had Pony on the show, breaking it all down. So check out yesterday if you haven't already.
I gave him a little tip. I sent him a little content bonus thing he could have where he should go in. Somebody should film it, obviously. He should go into a professional framer's shop, like the picture framer's place, right? And just walk in there and deadpan ask them to professionally mount his nipple rings for him. And somebody should film that. It'd be hilarious. Don't give them any explanation. Just walk in with a pair of nipple rings and ask them to professionally mount it and see what they do.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
No, that'd be good.
I'd watch that.
I'll be on today. I'll encourage it.
Good. I DM'd it to him. He laughed, but he didn't,
They're sticking to
didn't indicate whether he was doing it or not.
He's working today, New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Well, somebody is.
Dude, I love the lack of traffic on a holiday day when we're working and you just zoom straight in.
Right in.
There's nothing on the road.
You must shave 10 minutes off the
Dude,
drive.
I can get door to door in 12 minutes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's my average.
That's
I know. With traffic, that's
right.
how
it does. It halves it. It's insane.
Well, I mean, the minivan is unable to take advantage of such things the same way that you are. More like maybe I'm unwilling to.
Yeah.
But you're not. So
look, there's a certain
for you.
You gotta keep the eyesight in good order. You gotta see into the distance, make sure there's no cop on the side of this. There's only 3 or 4 spots where they occasionally linger, and as long as you've got line of sight on those spots, you're kind of good.
No, I understand. I understand the strategies behind it.
Yeah.
I'm just a little more conservative on the road. All right, we got a full Week 18 slate. Not everything means anything, but we'll go through it. We got a pick update?
Yeah. There's still somehow 3 people alive in the survivor pool. That's been the case for 3 or 4 weeks now. So that's down to the wire.
Splitting?
I don't know what happens if somebody doesn't win it this week.
Split the wins.
I have no idea how that resolves itself, but we'll find out together.
We have a prize for the winners, right? We're just We'll be throwing.
But I don't know what the Survivor League does if there's a 3-way tie at the end of the full regular season schedule. Number one, I don't even know if this extends into the playoffs, and number two, if it happens to be tied, I don't know how it resolves that. So we're all going to find out together at the end of the season. The Pick'em League. Maddox 29 is 2 clear of second place. Josh Zodi is then 3 clear of third place. So that looks very much like the finishing order unless disastrous weeks are had. Maddox is up with 148 wins in the lead. My last couple of weeks have been pretty disastrous, so my drop-off has been significant. From being on the heels of chasing down the top couple, I have now dropped down to tied 18th. 10 wins back from the lead. You and Harry are both tied with 120 wins for 248th out of a 500-person league, which does at least mean you're above 500.
Yeah, that doesn't eliminate all the people who just stopped picking.
I was choosing not to focus on that, but if you want to point out that fact, that's
new
true.
Year, new Sam, not trying to trash my picks.
Right. Not more than I need to.
As we go through the games today, unfortunately, I do not have Harry's picks loaded. So you won't get Harry's picks here on the show. Maybe we'll unleash those on a graphic later for everyone. We'll have to signify those because he usually does his picks on a Tuesday. He's always bugging me, can I do my picks? And I said, listen, son, we don't know who's playing.
Right.
There's a lot of QB.
There's a lot of
you
variables.
might want to wait. And maybe we waited too long.
Yeah.
Waited too long here. So he'll get his picks in later this week, or maybe he won't. Maybe I'll just change my code on the iPad and I'll win.
You want to sabotage your 9-year-old yes. headed into the final week of the season by not letting him pick.
He's 10 now. He's 10.
Oh, 10. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So where are you now? What place are you in?
18th.
Wow. Maybe
first and second are gone. But I'm within range of the bottom, the top whatever, the top 10 certainly. Though the first 2 places are long gone, but I'm only I'm 10 back of first, and third is 5 back of first. So, like, I'm only 5 back from 16 people.
Well, best of luck. Go get them.
Yeah,
All right, man. You ready to go?
sure.
All right.
Oh, by the way, the trophy I brought it back from Connecticut, the ladies golf trophy from 1999 that I won by mistake.
That's what I wanted.
It's sitting there right in the desk. From now on, it's here.
That's all I
It's been
wanted.
rescued, and it's here. For anyone that doesn't remember, I accidentally won a ladies golf tournament back in 1999.
I feel like we should tell that story like once a month just
Yeah.
to remind people. Maybe at the end of the show, we'll rehash.
Anyway, it's there. It's
Rehash
part of our
everything.
display now.
All right, Week 18 playoff picture is it's still very open.
Seeding, like
Seeding is
almost
open.
everybody is in, but seeding is still to be determined.
There were
plus a
2
couple of
open
divisions.
spots.
Yeah,
There were 2 open spots in the playoffs, AFC North and the NFC South, and then seeding is wide open. And as we record here on a Thursday morning, we're going to do our best to talk about who's playing, who's not, who's resting, who's playing their starters and the whole deal. The whole week's going to start. I mean, Saturday is going to be loaded. Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Bucks. It's Saturday at 4:30. The Bucks are favored by 3. This is potentially for the NFC South. We have this whole TBD.
which became an awful lot that was extremely unlikely as long as the Falcons had to beat the Rams as part of that. As soon as they did beat the Rams, this suddenly became a very likely scenario.
Yeah, so for
They're already
those
playing the Saints.
who are not following along here are the scenarios for this game. If the Panthers win, they're in. No questions asked.
Right.
If the Bucks win, they're not necessarily in because both teams will be 8-9, and they're going to have to wait until Sunday at 1. And if the Bucks win, the Bucks will be rooting for the New Orleans Saints. The Panthers will be rooting for the Atlanta Falcons.
They got to wait a day to resolve.
You have to wait a day. And if the Falcons win on Sunday, the Panthers are automatically in.
Against Tyler Shuck and the Saints.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which, they're on a 4-game win streak. They're hot.
Right.
And you would have said, and look, this was true going into Monday night's game where we said, look, if the Falcons win out against the Rams and Saints, feels unlikely given the Rams' record, then the Panthers are automatically in. Well, they took care of business Monday night against the Rams. So, Panthers and Bucks will play. They'll play like it. The division matters and it means something. The Panthers control their own results. If they win, they're in. But if they lose, they still have a shot. And the reason for that is if Atlanta also wins, the Falcons, Panthers, and Bucks would all be 8-9, and the Panthers would have the 3-way tiebreaker.
Correct.
And it's fascinating that Atlanta, the fact that they might be able to get back to tie for the division lead in record, and they were eliminated a month ago.
Yeah.
Like Atlanta's this was this outside chance of a scenario, Atlanta winning out a month ago and getting to this point where they're all 8-9, but because they were so far behind, they never even had a chance.
Right.
At either overtaking those two teams or winning the tiebreaker.
They became mathematically eliminated before the record was going to eliminate them. Remind me what the tiebreaker is for a 3-way tie in the NFL? It's like head to head. It's weird,
either conference record or.
But I think it starts with.
I don't think head to head has anything to do with it.
I think it starts with a win-loss percentage within those 3 teams, and then it moves to division record. So I think that's what eliminated the Falcons is they already lost too many division games.
The 3-way tiebreaker for the division also might be different than the wild card 3-way tiebreaker, and I apologize because this is me complaining about announcers not knowing.
Yeah.
What about 4th down scenarios and everything? Me not knowing this is. Poor preparation.
Here we go. To break a tie within a division, 3 or more clubs. Head-to-head, best win-loss tie percentage in games among the clubs. Number 2 is best win-loss percentage in games within the division, and then becomes win percentage in common games.
So within the 3 teams, within
So I don't know which one
division,
is breaking this tie, but it's one of the first 2.
And then common games.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So that's what we're looking at. As far as the actual game, again, Saturday, the NFL has created, there are 3 island games this week because there's no Monday Night Football. and there's 2 elimination games essentially plus the number 1 seed game. So they've done a good job, I think, setting up the schedule. Bucks Panthers, they just played a couple weeks ago. Remember the Panthers win late.
In a very close game. Yeah.
Yes. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks had a chance for that game-winning drive. A little miscommunication between Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, and it's a game-ending interception for the Panthers to get the win to essentially set all this up.
Yep.
So technically, the Panthers are a game up on the Bucks,
Right.
And I will continue to reiterate: the Bucks are 1-7 since October.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just a funny thing when you talk about the NFL. Like if you flip the season in the NFL, how narratives change. Like if the Bucks started 1-7, we'd be sitting here talking about how bad they are. They might be picking in the top 5, right? But they're finishing 1-7. This stretch just happens to be the second half of the season instead of the first. If they could win and then have the Saints win on Sunday, this would be one of the worst stumble into the playoffs we've ever seen. I mean, you talk about the Eagles in 2023. This is potentially way worse here for the Bucs if they can pull it off. But even with all that, the fact that they've won 1 game since October, they're still playing potentially for a division title.
Particularly depending on how they get in. Like if the win against Carolina is some kind of ridiculous, ugly, like late turnover, goofy play, and then they require Atlanta like digging it out against the Saints as well, it would be an utterly insane way of making the playoffs. It does kind of feel like maybe the most NFC South thing that could possibly happen is Tampa Bay finds a way of getting the win, and then Atlanta, botches it against the Saints, and almost 24 hours later, the Bucs get eliminated, having done their part theoretically.
Atlanta would have to win.
Oh, sorry, win.
Yeah.
Win. Yeah, and then Atlanta, digs it out. Atlanta, down against Tyler Shuck, finds a way. Kirk Cousins throws a last-second bomb to Kyle Pitts to win the game at the death, and Tampa Bay gets eliminated almost a day later, having played and done their part of freaky win. Like anything, this division has been such a mess where 2 of the most confusing teams in the NFL all season long in Carolina and Atlanta. The Bucs haven't been necessarily that confusing, but started off really good and then have just completely collapsed down the stretch from a point of looking like the division was basically wrapped up really quite early to all of a sudden they actually need quite a bit of help just to get to the playoffs. And then I think regardless of whether they make it or not, everyone expects them to be completely, have no shot of doing anything. I feel like Carolina has a significantly better chance of actually doing anything if they make the playoffs just because we've seen them beat good teams.
It is true. And again, I keep referencing not just this year, but last year. They took last year's Chiefs and last year's Eagles right to the wire. And then this year, beat the Rams and, won some big games.
And they're absolutely capable of doing nothing as well, but at least we've seen them beat good teams.
The inconsistency of Bryce Young, I just wanted to go through what's happened with him since week 9. And, year 3 of Bryce Young's career, you'd love to have some sort of definitive conclusion as to what he is. And look, last year would have been a nice, clean storyline, right? We thought that he played so much better after he got benched. He was one of the worst. It was one of the worst year plus 2 starts that we've seen. He gets benched, he comes back, and looks so much better, so much different. Let's see if he can carry that momentum into this year. First half of the season, didn't really see it much. But since week 9, listen to this. He goes 11 of 20 against Green Bay for 102 in a win, 42 PFF grade. The next week, he has a 36 PFF grade against New Orleans in a loss, right? They disappointed in a loss. Comes back against Atlanta and goes 448 yards in overtime, 10 yards per attempt, 87 PFF grade. So he goes 42, 36, 87. The next week was against the Niners, Monday Night Football, 40 PFF grade, 2 picks, including in the red zone, only 169 yards. Then he goes on a 3-week stretch, including against the Rams, 83 grade. So he's going in the 30s and 40s up to the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And then he's got a 78 against the Saints, and then his season high grade was 91. So he goes on this 3-week stretch where he's really good. 2 weeks ago, plays one of his best games. And a couple of those games are he's playing well. He's got a couple big-time throws. The stats are okay. They're not great. And then last week, after his great 3-game stretch, 54 grade, with 54 passing yards.
Yeah.
14 of 24. The roller coaster ride of Bryce Young week to week. No idea what you're going to get from him.
Within the same season, he has single-game performances of 448 yards and 54 yards.
Unreal.
That's madness.
It is.
We've never thought about this before necessarily, but his backup is Andy Dalton, who, remember, famously had the Dalton coaster for a while, where his season grades are like literally look like a roller coaster. Maybe that's what Andy Dalton is imparting into young Bryce. Their way of getting ahead in the NFL is to simply be wildly inconsistent on a week-to-week basis.
It's honestly a difficult, as analysts and as data-centric people, it's a difficult thing because the Dalton thing that you mentioned over a decade ago, we would say he's great one week and poor the next week, and that's what he is. But it doesn't. Geno Smith had elements of this too, right? Remember Geno Smith's 3 highest games? I think his first year as a starter were up in the 80s and 90s, and that is unbelievable. He had 3 unbelievable games and a whole bunch of terrible games, and you just don't know. It like kind of evens out over time, right? We always look at games as like this contained world, but from a data perspective, the data doesn't necessarily care. They just say you drop back 500 times, and over those 500 times, variance happens. It could happen within a game, or it could happen, spread out over multiple weeks. So I say all that to say, Bryce Young, man, like every time it feels like he's turning the corner in his career, then there's some disappointment. And he's had some of the worst games of any quarterback this year.
That's the thing.
But he's had some good ones in the last month.
He can look good for a while, and then you have a game where it looks like he doesn't belong in the NFL at all. Like, that's the weird thing about it. Like, the Seattle game. Okay, look, Seattle's a really difficult defense. We know that. But he had an average depth of target in that game of like 1.5. It's like, what is that?
I believe Ben Solak he did not complete a pass beyond 5 yards.
Yeah.
5 air yards.
I mean, he completed passes for 54 yards. Like, it's like that's a like if that was from a rookie quarterback, you'd be like, this guy can't play in this league.
And look, Seattle's defense, going on this, back in our day when some of our colleagues would use the phrase defense doesn't matter. And we were like, that might be an extreme way of wording things. When you see what Seattle's defense has done to opposing offenses. Same thing I've said about Houston's defense. Now, not every single week, but there are certain weeks where Seattle's defense is so good.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I don't even know if I want to blame the offense.
Right.
You couldn't do anything. Like, that is a factor here.
Yeah, look, I mean, compare it to Old Man Rivers, right? Old Man Rivers fresh off the couch for like 5 years, not just off the couch from like a week ago, but the man had been sitting down eating Twinkies for the last 5 years, rolled into an NFL game, and basically doubled Bryce Young's numbers against the Seahawks. More than double, actually. But like he threw for $120, had an average depth of target of 5 and a bit. It's like, that a dude rolling in off nothing was able to do more than you were able to do coming off a run of good play against the Seattle defense. So, yeah, it's a really high bar of difficulty. That's a really, really good defense. And yet what you were doing was still miserable.
Yeah. So then you have Baker Mayfield on the other side. I've used the phrase cluster turnovers before.
Cluster turnovers.
Right? Panthers have been guilty of cluster turnovers this year in a lot of their losses. Well, he's had another interesting season too, where he's had those cluster turnover-worthy plays. Remember back in week 1, I'm watching the film against Atlanta. I'm like, dude hit the defense in their hands 4 different times and has no interceptions.
Yeah.
And so it was on the broadcast last week, like his touchdown to interception ratio, first half of the season, it was whatever to 2, 17-2 or 14-2. And since that point, he's got 8 interceptions.
He had like one interception up until week 7.
Yeah, and then it was just the luck just flipped on turnover-worthy plays. That's one thing. But then the other part is, why is there not a little more trust in the pass game now that Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, why has Emeka Egbuka become non-existent after he looked like an absolute steal at 20 overall or wherever he went? The pieces should be there for the Bucs pass game, plus the run game with Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
Right? Bucky Irving coming back in the second half of the season. They should be the team where you look around at all those playmakers and say, Baker Mayfield, despite having offensive line upheaval and no Tristan Wirfs at points the last month or two, they should have all the pieces to to create some high-level offense, and they just have not done it.
Yeah, I mean, Baker's play has fallen off really badly since that incredible run where people were talking about him as the MVP through 5-6 weeks, whatever it was. And no matter what way you want to look at it, I mean, pick your favorite stat. His numbers have really fallen off badly since that point. And I mean, that's a big part of it. Like he was so individually responsible for this team winning games early in the season that as soon as that stops being the case, as soon as he stops carrying them, they're not winning because nothing else in this team is particularly strong. You know, the support structure for Baker should be strong in terms of receiving core and offensive line when it's healthy. But it needs him to play well in order to take advantage of that. And if he's not playing particularly well, which he hasn't been, well, then the defense, it's aggressive, but it's not particularly good. It's not dominant. It's not going to do what Denver's defense is or Houston's defense is. It's not going to win games by itself. So Baker's play dropping off the way it has been a real problem for them. And even when he has, put up a ton of yardage and moved the ball a lot, he's then timed that with a bunch of turnovers or a bunch of turnover, putting the ball in harm's way, and they can't win games like that.
So here's the deal. Wrap up our analysis on this. I just want to talk high-level coaching staff and everything. I would say if you were evaluating this season for the Bucs and the Panthers, I would say the Panthers have overachieved, right? They came in with low expectations in a roster that was being churned just a little bit, right? They've had to rely on guys like Tetero and McMillan, Nick Scorton, some youngsters, and the inconsistency of Bryce Young. They've overachieved. They've won a little bit on the edges. They've overachieved in specific games and done a nice job there.
That being said, if you look at it sort of in totality, like in overall terms, I mean, not by much. You know what I mean? Like they are only at 500. It's not like it's just because the rest of the division.
Yeah, but we're talking about a 4 and 5 win team.
I know, but based off,
we're talking about one of the worst teams in the league the last couple of years. They're on the
but based
upward
off what they've
trajectory.
added, or like based off adding Tetero, McMillan, the theoretical things around like the improvements that they had made on paper heading into the season. If you had been told going into this year that Carolina would be right now sitting at 500 with a net negative point differential, you'd be like, all right, I mean that tallies. Like it's not an unexpected position. No, it's just the surprise is that's enough to be leading the division with one win away from being in the playoffs.
Fair point. I mean, the underlying metrics for the Panthers are not great. I mean, they're going to be in the bottom half. I haven't checked like EPA per play or anything recently. I think they're in the bottom half, like close to 20 defensively. Got to be in the bottom half offensively. Yeah. A lot of the underlying metrics are probably not strong.
Like the thing is that Tampa Bay has just fallen off to the point where they're like 3 or 4 games below where you think they should be or where they should have been going into the year.
But that's the point I wanted to make. Todd Bowles sounds fatigued.
Yeah. I imagine you would be off the back of this kind of run.
He sounded obviously very frustrated coming off the Thursday night loss against Atlanta. Again, 1 win since Halloween.
Yeah.
And they're sitting here with a chance at the division.
Right.
They asked him about the kickoff coverage and how they just kick it into the end zone and just give up because they don't trust their kickoff coverage. And he just sounds spent. He's just like, we don't have the players. And they're like, didn't you choose the players? He's like, yeah.
Also, the players,
they don't get
for special teams. It's not like that's like locked in. You just put some other players on special teams. You got an entire roster to pick from.
He sounds fatigued. And he's locked up for the next couple of years. And look, they've won the division title under his watch every year since 2022 in the weakest division in football. So all of those things are true. But this was supposed to be a year where they had all the homegrown talent. They had everybody returning. There was a little bit more churn in Detroit. There was a little bit more churn in Philadelphia. There was a little bit more, uncertainty around the rest of the NFC. And this was supposed to be the year the Bucs, because of their continuity over the last couple of years, went from good to great. And they've gone from good to maybe out of the playoffs. And so it's just an interesting week for them. And all that said, they control half their destiny. We'll say. They control a bit. But they're 7-9 against the 8-8 Panthers. And after all that, they are favored by 3.
Yeah.
Right? We are talking about on paper. It is actually 2 evenly matched teams who came down to the final possession just 2 weeks ago.
It did, and it's another one of these weird ones where they played a couple of weeks ago. So we saw this game very recently with very little changing in between those two. And as you said, this was Bryce Young's best game of the season from a PFF grading standpoint. He was really good in this game. Now, it was 190 yards. Like, it's one of those.
It was the high leverage plays again, though. It was like third down, touchdown.
It's the classic Bryce Young game where it's like his grade is amazing. He had a bunch of big time throws, and somehow it shook out to $190 in terms of passing yardage. For some reason, his best games are never the ones where he throws for 448 yards. But this was like, he played really well. Baker Mayfield actually played quite well in that game as well. And then it was the miscommunication at the end that ended up being the difference, where Bryce Young executed his go-ahead drive. Baker Mayfield's chance to answer, he was making some things happen scrambling, and then him and Mike Evans misread each other on a scramble type of play, and that was the turnover, and that's the game. So I do think this should be a very good, very even game again. They are pretty evenly matched. Tampa Bay's collapse has been pretty spectacular, whereas Carolina remains kind of schizophrenic week to week, winning, losing when you either one. But it should come down to the wire again.
I did look up offensive EPA per play. The Bucs are 25th. Panthers are 26th.
Yeah.
So they're right next to each other there. Defensively, we got the Bucs at 13th, and Panthers are 23rd in EPA per play.
Yeah.
So it is what you're talking about, like with the Panthers. They're in the bottom 10 in EPA per play, both offensively and defensively. But
what is their?
Well, they've won a little bit in the kick game, high leverage plays, third and fourth down, and then they've shortened games. They've had fewer possessions than most teams.
I mean, 8-8.
They've increased variance in that sense.
Like, the teams tied for 8-8 right now are kind of fascinating. Like, it's Carolina and Baltimore, who are basically in the same position in terms of two teams with a disappointing record overall, but still have a shot at making the playoffs with one last win. And then two teams that were supposed to be good and weren't necessarily, Minnesota and Detroit. And then the Colts, who were the AFC version of the Bucs, who started off really hot and then completely collapsed, albeit with the more reasonable explanation that their quarterback got hurt and they had to turn to Old Man Rivers off the couch. So it's like, it's not a great place to be, 8-8. It's just that the rest of the division is terrible, so suddenly Carolina's in the driving seat.
And it's better than 7-9. So, all right, man, we spent a lot of time on one of the biggest games of the week, Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Bucs. Bucs by 3 per FanDuel. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with Carolina to at least cover a 3-point spread.
Yeah, I'm same. I'm going to take Carolina.
Though it would be extremely Tampa Bay this year to find a way of winning this game and then get screwed by the Falcons.
If Tampa wins, I think you're going to look back and say, and I always have to look back on the times I say we're going to look back, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans. I always have it in my head that they can go on those runs where they get hot.
I do feel like this is really harsh, by the way, by the schedulers to leave this hanging for a day. Like, the Tampa Bay potentially being able to win this game and then have like a full 21 hours to sit there and wait and see if Atlanta screws them or not is pretty unreasonable.
For Tampa?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really thought they would just have these games at the same time.
Right.
So let's talk about I'll take Carolina. We don't know what Harry's pick is. We'll find out later, maybe on social. New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. This one's Sunday at 1. We will spend less than 30 minutes on the next few games, or else we will be here all day. We get a triple header
and
of
you can't
college
have that
football
happen
playoff.
because there's college football.
We got to be out by noon. We got Texas Tech, Oregon. We got the triple header. New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. It's the Falcons by 3, and this is Sunday at 1. Again, the implications here: nothing for the Saints, nothing for the Falcons. But the Falcons could get the Panthers into the playoffs. Interestingly enough, if they had put this game on Saturday, we would know. That's what I mean. There's a chance we would know the Panthers were in the playoffs. But we want to play everything out. If Atlanta wins, Carolina automatically in the playoffs. Both teams kind of hot here. Hottest teams in the NFC South, to be honest. 4 wins in a row for the Saints. Atlanta coming off their Monday night win against the Rams. And it's a pretty fun little matchup here.
It is, yeah. And Tyler Shuck playing really well the last month or so. I think his worst game came against Atlanta the first time around, but it was much earlier into his starting tenure there. The last few games,
they played back in week 12.
Yeah, the last few games, though, he's been playing extremely well and looking very, very good. So Atlanta's defense, it's a difficult, confusing defense that can do an awful lot, and yet sometimes just doesn't. Like, it's weird because they've put Josh Allen in hell. They've put Matthew Stafford in hell. They've absolutely rendered the Vikings useless at various points of the season. And then they've had other games where people have just carved them up.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
And in a way that a lot of the top defenses in the NFL have done. A lot, what the Seahawks have done, what the McDonald types of defense have done, what the Chargers have done, 5-man pressures and a little bit of indecision, getting some pressure from their linebackers and sticky coverage on the back end. But it's just not as consistent week to week, right? They were the team that gave up the 400-plus yards to Bryce Young in that game. That was part of the confusion week to week for the Falcons.
They've been carved up by some not particularly good teams, and at the same time as putting some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL into an absolute blender with this same defense. I do not understand what happens between those two performances.
In the last month, though, we've seen Tyler Shuck for the Saints. Fourth quarter magic. We saw the comeback against the Bucs. We saw an almost comeback against the Dolphins. We saw him last week. Come back against the Titans with some big plays, including Audric Estime helping on the ground. So, Saints fans are real excited about Tyler Shuck.
And they should be. He's playing really well at the moment.
He's running the offense extremely well, making big-time throws. And I've been most impressed with the just third and fourth downs. Even going all the way back to when they first beat the Panthers. Right, we were talking about a team that had one win maybe at the time when they first beat Carolina. And it was just a couple key third down conversions, and he's on conversion downs. We've seen a lot of good stuff from Tyler Shuck here.
And he's doing it without, a lot of the playmakers that the Saints have. I think they have overall a pretty good group to help him, but a lot of them are hurt. So, last week, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave were there, and they accounted for, a lot of that, most of that yardage. But after that, you're down to Dante Pettis, Kevin Austin, guys that are not supposed to be big parts of this offense. Same with the backfield. Like, theoretically, the Saints have a really good backfield on paper, but most of them are hurt. So it's Audric Estime running the ball. Now, I think he's better than he showed his first stint in Denver, and he had a really good game against the Titans. But if you were going into the season being like, hey, Tyler Shuck's main running back is Audric Estime, you would be like, uh-oh, that doesn't feel great. So not only is he playing his best football right now, but he's doing it with a supporting cast that should be a lot better than this, but is pretty banged up at the moment.
Other just matchups to watch and things to watch here. Falcons rookie edge rushers. We know, Jalen Walker.
Rookie on rookie crime.
Yeah.
Really good performances from the rookie edge rushers going up against Kelvin Banks, who's been one of the better rookie offensive linemen out there and actually been doing a really good job all year quietly.
So nice little battles to watch there. You've got Shuck and, seeing if they can continue their momentum into the offseason on that side of the ball. And then you have the Falcons. Bijan Robinson is like 277 scrimmage yards away from Chris Johnson's record. It's week 18, though. We got extra game here for Bijan. Chris Johnson's 2009 when he had the 2,000 rushing yards.
The scrimmage record is so funny because, theoretically,
it's not all purpose, which is good.
I know, but theoretically, the scrimmage yards number is like a really big, important number that people just don't pay attention to. And it's like every now and again you get to week 17 or 18, like, oh, by the way, this guy set an all-time record in this. Like everyone's tracking, 2,000 rushing yards or the Calvin Johnson receiving
why don't we
record.
add,
what if you put them both together? This guy's actually just set the all-time mark, and nobody even noticed him doing it.
Now, adding up rushing and receiving makes sense to me.
Yes,
that's a good number.
Right. But and yet that's the one no one focuses on.
Not my all-purpose rant the other day when you add return yards into that and make them all equivalent.
But it's just hilarious how easily somebody can just surprisingly break that record. No one's paid attention to it.
My other quick rant in made-up stat world. When they say this quarterback has accounted for 88% of the yards for the team, and they add up passing yards and rushing yards.
That's stupid.
It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You can't add up passing and rushing. Those are two different things. You add rushing and receiving. You can't say he's got all the passing yards. He didn't catch the ball. He threw it. You add up receiving and rushing. You can't add up passing and rushing. It's just disingenuous. We go back to yesterday's show if you need more rants on using bad stats. Anyways, fun game on Sunday, and I think I think it's an interesting spot for both teams too, because Atlanta. I said this about a month ago. I said they might have to win out for Raheem Morris, our friend Zach, for Terry Fontenot at GM, for everybody to be back. A month ago maybe it looked bleak, like it could be a clean house type of offseason for Atlanta. You also, if you're a Falcons fan, you're going to be talking about missed opportunities, not just this year, for the last decade plus. But you got to look around this division and say, man, we probably should have been the best team in this division if we didn't, lose to the Jets because of special teams and various things that have come up.
Or just been anything like the team that they were supposed to be heading into the season. Like the excitement surrounding Michael Penix Jr., the Falcons group on offense, relative to what they actually put out there until Michael Penix Jr. got hurt. Kirk Cousins came in and sort of rescued some respectability late in the season. I mean, the difference between those two things is insane. And if it was anywhere near what it was supposed to be coming into the year, they would be in the driving seat of this division.
All right, man. Let's make some picks. I'm going to enjoy this one on Sunday. We'll see if it means anything, depending on what happens with Carolina and Tampa Bay. But Atlanta by 3, can they lock the Panthers into the playoffs?
I feel like they will now. I hate doing this because they just played a really good game on defense against the Rams, which means they'll almost certainly find a way of shit in the bed and not do it against Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, not
but
buying it.
The fact that their defense is capable of playing like that, the fact that they did kind of put them in that blender the first time around, I don't see a good reason that it would go the other way other than the fact that they just came off a good game. And Atlanta being Atlanta means they'll not do it this time.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the Falcons.
Buy into the inconsistency.
Yeah.
It is in Atlanta. I will take New Orleans. I'll take them. Staying hot going into the offseason.
That's the smart thing.
Momentum.
I'm going against my own clear instincts by picking the Falcons.
That would be I am kind of rooting for the chaos, though, of if Tampa wins on Saturday.
I feel so sorry for that.
They're sitting there, and each division team is rooting for one of their division rivals.
Yeah.
Going nuts to figure out if they can get into the
Social
playoffs.
media teams queuing up tweets.
Oh, of course. It's going to be electric. And then we have Saturday night. Speaking of electric, Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. The Seahawks favored by 1.5 here. You've got the number 1 seed in the NFC on the line here. Seahawks right now, the number 1 seed. But if the Niners win, they will be the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Seattle drops to 5. I don't know if there's a scenario that they could drop to 6. Maybe if the Rams win. I haven't looked specifically at that, but I just know it's number 1 seed on the line here for the Seahawks and the Niners. And I just want to say, I think it's one of the wildest things in the NFL in the last decade or so that for 2 years in a row, Sam Darnold, as the starting quarterback, is in this position. That's crazy, Sam. That for the second straight year, with 2 different teams, Sam Darnold is playing a Week 18 number 1 seed on the line game where it's either against the division rival. It's not just the 1 seeds on the line. It's 1 versus 5. It's 1 versus a wild card. And for the second straight year, last year it was Sam Darnold with the Vikings going up against the Lions, number 1 versus 5. You win, you're the 1. You lose, you're the 5. And now, once again, Darnold's leading the Seahawks, number 1 seed on the line. Or if you lose, it's a wild card, just like last year. That's crazy.
Yeah. The Seahawks will be hoping it doesn't go the same way as the last time, where he completed 18 of 41 pass attempts for 166 yards against the Lions and got sacked a couple of times and generally got put into a bit of a nightmare. It is kind of crazy. That part is nuts. The other part that's nuts to me is the fact that the 49ers are in this position, given that, I mean, they were kind of written off by most people given all the injuries they've had this season. At least written off, like the offensive players, they were always sort of winning these games just to keep them in good position. It's like, yeah, their quarterback is out. They're missing all their offensive players, but they're at least coming back sometime soon. And somehow they're finding a way of winning all these games and keeping them in a good position. And then you lose Nick Bosa, you lose Fred Warner, and you're like, all right, that's probably their season done, even though they're likely to make the playoffs at this point. But like they're on this run where they're 6-something straight, and it's like, and they're beating good teams, and they're putting up 1 million points on offense. You're like, maybe they are actually capable of being one of the best teams in the NFL, making it to a Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl with a defense that has no business being there because the offense and Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy apparently are just that good. And this is another test of that. I mean, Chicago was a pretty good test of that. Indianapolis, less so, maybe. But, they've been stepping it up in difficulty. I mean, you go Tennessee, obviously you should win that game pretty easily. Indianapolis with Old Man Rivers, you should win that game. Chicago, all right, now it's getting harder. Seattle, I mean, this is the stiffest test of that dynamic since they played the Rams, I would say, during the middle of the season sometime. It's also the opposite end of the spectrum from the Carolina-Tampa Bay game, which we saw like 2 weeks ago. The last time this game happened was week 1, and almost nothing is relevant from that game because you had Nick Bosa in that game. You had Fred Warner in that game. You know, like all the players that are missing for the 49ers were playing in that game, so it's irrelevant.
And remember, the Niners pulled it off.
Yeah.
Last second, Brock Purdy throwed Tonjes.
Yeah.
Who was like, who's this guy? I think Kittle got hurt, and that was his replacement, and that was the game-winning throw. That was 18 weeks ago. Brock Purdy has absolutely been smoking in recent weeks. He's over 9 yards per attempt over the last 3 weeks. He's got 11 passing touchdowns, a couple rushing over the last few weeks. He just had the Monday night game where they dominated the Colts, and this shootout against the Bears where after a tipped pass, pick six, pretty much unstoppable, this 49ers offense. So
I mean, he's gone from playing, crazy. This is the problem with sample sizes and why making any kind of declarative, statement off the back of a couple of game stretch is crazy. But like Brock Purdy, between starting the season and not looking great and then coming back and not looking great immediately right out of the gate, it's like this was the worst stretch of Brock Purdy's career. Right after he got paid a monstrous amount of money, you're like, what if the 49ers made a mistake? And then since that point, like basically since he played Cleveland, you're like, well, this now is the best stretch of Brock Purdy's career. He's gone from this is the worst football he's ever played, did we goof, to all of a sudden, well, this is why they paid him all that money. What are you talking about? Why would you even question it?
It's an interesting season for him, right? Because week 1, he had 2 picks against Seattle, and I have some numbers. Brock Purdy against Mike McDonald. Some interesting numbers.
Okay.
But he goes 2 picks and 2 interceptions in week 1, but he has that game-winning touchdown. And then he gets hurt. And then remember, he finishes the game, and then all of a sudden he's got turf toe, and he's out for a couple weeks. Tries to come back against Jacksonville, throws 2 more picks. And he was thrown over the middle. These were all throws over the middle of the field, where it looked like he's kind of throwing blind. He's not seeing it well, and he's throwing these turnovers over the middle. Comes back in week 11 against Arizona, and then in week 12, plays fine. In week 12 against Carolina, that's the Monday night game, where he had 3 picks. And it was like, remember, Kurt Warner was breaking that game down, and he was like, I got Brock Purdy with 3 mistakes.
Other than the 3 mistakes.
Now, they were 3 picks, but he played a really clean game. And going back, it's like, well, there's some truth in what Kurt's saying, right? If you literally only make 3 mistakes, but they are of the disastrous type, and they were, like he was misreading. I think 2 of them were really on his fault, but it was the middle of the field. Again, for Purdy, it's like he's got a blind spot in between the numbers. And then they go to Cleveland, and another one of those defenses that's like gets you rethinking how good your offense really is. And they held their own in tough conditions in Cleveland and got the win. And then since that point, they've been unstoppable.
Yeah,
Purdy's offense and the Niners have been unstoppable. So it hasn't been like the overall stats are great for Purdy. He's number 1 in EPA per play, QBR, and in every measure from an efficiency standpoint. He's also unreal from a sack avoidance perspective. Only 8 times he's been sacked, 7.7 pressure to sack ratio. Like he's number 1 in all of that as well. But against a tough Seattle defense right now. And so this is where it comes to a head here. They beat up on Tennessee a couple weeks ago, Indianapolis, and then Chicago. And those are okay, no Sauce Gardner in India. Like those are okay defenses. Chicago's been opportunistic, but they've given up a lot of yards, and those are okay defenses. This is clearly the biggest challenge Purdy's had, certainly since like week 4 with the Jags, but since week 1 when it was Seattle. So it's good on good. Purdy against Mike McDonald. Mm-hmm. They've 3 games because remember McDonald was the defensive coordinator for the Christmas night game in 2023, 49ers Ravens. Remember, it's a similar game to this, right? 2 of the best teams in the NFL. AFC at that time it was AFC versus NFC. Is it a Super Bowl preview? Purdy had 4 picks. Now, I was a defender of Purdy because I'm like, a couple tip passes, like it's some quirky plays. But he had 4 picks. And then you have week 1 where he had the 2. So in 3 games against Mike McDonald and his defense, Purdy's averaging 7.7 yards per attempt, which is good, but he's got 6 touchdowns and 7 picks in 3 games. EPA per play of 0.06, which is below average, we'll say. So that's a big one in this one. Does that matter? Mike McDonald's defense against the Kyle Shanahan offense and Brock Purdy that matchup is an interesting one here.
Yeah, and then making Brock Purdy's life even more difficult is Trent Williams dealing with his hamstring injury. I would say he's unlikely to play. It's up in the air. We're not going to hear. It's going to be one of those, surprise, he's playing or he's not, because it's this Week 18 game, because he's pretty old at this point. He's apparently never had a hamstring injury before in his career, the first one. So you don't have a history of like how he reacts to that kind of stuff. I would say it's pretty unlikely that he plays. I would imagine they'll hold him out because you really want him for the playoffs. So if he doesn't play, they actually played fine without him in the lineup. But
They didn't miss a beat at all. Run game either.
Yeah,
Run
but
game
against
or pass game.
Seattle, as we're already talking about this defense and how good it is, without Trent Williams out there, that's not ideal.
Yeah, and like Seattle's, they're one of the best defenses in the league. They're 2 weeks removed. They were getting carved up by the Rams, right? So it's not like I don't think the Texans' defense has had any lulls this year. Again, no one's maybe the Raiders a couple weeks ago. The Raiders got them with some plays, right? It's so tough to just have pristine, unstoppable defense all the way through the season. But the Seahawks are still number 2 in EPA per play. The old adage Yogi Berra always said, good offense beats good defense and vice versa.
Uh-huh.
Good pitching always beats good hitting and vice versa. So something's got to give here. Niners, red-hot offense against the Seahawks, number 2 defense in EPA per play.
Did you see, by the way, John Lynch said that, the GPS stuff, apparently Trent Williams hit 17.5 miles an hour trying to run down the interception where he tweaked his hamstring.
Yeah, so you got to know that. Analytics would say you don't want to run over 17 at that weight, or else your
Trent,
hamstrings.
from now on, don't exceed 17. 17 is your red line.
Maybe 16.5.
Yeah.
It's like telling a pitcher who throws 104, why don't you just dial it down to 100 just to throw strikes?
It's just
so you don't hurt yourself.
It's it's the rev limiter in the car. You are now rev limited to 17 miles an hour. Don't go above that because the hamstring doesn't like it.
Other storyline stuff here. Again, we've talked about Sam Darnold and how halfway. This is the thing about even Brock Purdy's trend, right? Brock Purdy's last 3 weeks has been blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
great. EPA per play is outstanding. Well, if you just the first 8 games of the year, Sam Darnold was number 1. He was number 1 in all of that. EPA per play, 10 yards per attempt. He was number 1 in all of them. Big time throw percentage, turnover worthy play percentage. He was the best at all of that. In the second half, it has not been the case.
It's like this is the thing. It's like the problem with small sample sizes is it can flip instantly and might not mean anything. But the thing is, trends do happen, and it's like, well, when do you start buying into the trend versus just a sample size variance issue? And it's like right now, Darnold's season is kind of the tale of 2 years, where the first half he was literally the best quarterback in the NFL by basically any measure, and the second half he's been pretty bad for most of it. Now, there's still been amazing throws in there. I mean, even within games where he hasn't played particularly well, he's come back and delivered an absolute dart to Cooper Kupp late in the game in a critical situation. Like, he's still making some spectacular plays. So it's not like Darnold has turned into a pumpkin and he's gone back to just being a disaster. He is still making some high-end plays. But the overall totality of his play level, it isn't just, there's been one really bad game in there and that, that player's still there. It's like, actually, the second half of the season, Darnold's not played particularly well.
Yeah, it's just some perspective. Like his last, let's say.
But is that variance or is that real? Like, is Darnold now just not playing very well anymore, or has he just had a bad run of variance games and this game he's going to bounce back with like a 95 PFF grade and a passer rating of 140 and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and 400 yards? Like, I don't know.
So, like, just for some perspective, like the bottom 6 out of his bottom 8 yards per attempt games have come in the second half of the season here, right?
Yeah, week 10 onwards.
It's been a tale of 2 halves of the season for Darnold. But yeah, from a data perspective, you would say like the entire season matters the most. And overall, if you just plopped these numbers in front of John Schneider and the Seahawks coming into the offseason, he'd say, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take
of course.
8.5 yards per attempt and 25 touchdowns, and I'll take all of that.
Like, just in turn, you hate this statistic, but touchdown to interception ratio, if people love that. So for the first 9 weeks of the season, he had 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Since that point, he's 9-9. So it's like we've gone from, the very basic, a little under or a little over on the interception side, like 4-to-1 ratio to 1-to-1. That's the kind of drop-off he's seen in terms of performance.
But those are real. Like, those have matched.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's
the bad decisions that he's
right.
made. Right.
You hate that statistic as a thing, but like
unless it matches,
it's a pretty good indication of what he's done.
Unless it matches the underlying data.
But my point being, I don't know if that's just like he's just caught a bad run of games, or if that's like a thing, it's predictive or not. Like, I don't know if that means anything going into a Week 18 game against San Francisco's defense that doesn't have any talent and can't necessarily stop him.
The other part, I would say, of Darnold's game, if you go back to the Minnesota game, he got sacked 4 times. He got sacked 4 times against the Rams. When he's run up against some pretty good pass rushing teams, we've seen just a little bit of, Flores is incredible.
Yeah.
The Rams are really good at this, but you create some hesitancy, you create some indecision. Those things have happened. That's been the second half of the year. So the second half of the year, he's played the Rams twice. He's played this red-hot Minnesota defense, right? But the Niners bring a different challenge, which is not much of a challenge when it comes to the pass rush. It's a different challenge here. So,
well, that's the thing. I said yesterday, right, that I think at this point, Darnold's season can be just pretty neatly summed up into, does he get pressure or not? Like, if he's pressured, he's playing not good football for basically the entirety of this year. If he isn't pressured, he's playing extremely good football this year. And obviously the 49ers present an interesting defense because they're not going to get much pressure. They don't have the horses anymore, and therefore this should be a good Darnold game.
This is going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to this. It's Saturday night. Seattle at San Francisco.
According to NGS, only the Carolina Panthers have a worse pressure rate on defense this year than the San Francisco 49ers. So statistically speaking, Darnold is going up against one of the easiest defenses he's going to face.
They just played Carolina last week, and he did get sacked a few times. He didn't maneuver the pocket the best. Teams are certainly keying on Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
A lot more in the second half.
They've done a really good job of that because early in the season, he was putting up utterly cartoonish numbers, and they were moving him around to get him away from that attention. And he was like, it's not like this is new going into this year that, hey, by the way, JSN might be the guy you want to focus on there. Teams knew that heading into the season, and he was still carving them up with record pace numbers. And yet the second half of the season, they have done a really good job of like, it's not happening to him. You're going to have to go somewhere else.
All right, man. Playoff caliber game Saturday night in the NFC West. Seattle favored by 1.5. Where are you going to go?
I'm buying into the Seahawks thing. I think the 49ers defense is just not good enough to stop Sam Darnold. And I think the reverse is true, where Seattle's defense should be able to at least slow down this 49ers offense, which nobody else has been able to.
I've heard you Niners fans. I've heard you loud and clear. A little bit of pick against us again. Doubt us again, Steve. Yeah. Doubt us again. And I will.
Yeah, they're definitely the team. They might be the single biggest team heading into the playoffs where it's like, I don't quite believe it yet, but I'm running out of reasons to stop believing it. Like, at some point, particularly if they win this game, like if they catapult themselves into the 1 seed off the back of this, off the back of the run that they would have been on to achieve that, it would be hard to doubt them. It would be insane if this team actually went on a run in the playoffs because of that defensive talent. And yet at some point you have to say maybe they're just one of those teams where, like, every now and again you get that 2015 Denver defense, like the one that carried Peyton Manning's geriatric ass to his second Super Bowl. Like, what if the reverse happens? What if this 49ers offense is just so good that it doesn't matter how bad the defense is?
Then you'd have, if I pose the question, and I said this the other day, Josh Allen's the QB I trust the most in the playoffs, both leagues, right? AFC and NFC, both conferences. Mm-hmm. Is Brock Purdy number 2? Is Brock Purdy number 1? Do you trust Brock Purdy, or am I prisoner of the moment? Because this isn't just like Brock Purdy's on a good 3, 4, 5 week stretch. I still think he is the best quarterback Kyle Shanahan has had since Matt Ryan. Put that out there the other day. People are like, well, he runs better than Matt Ryan. He's better. I'm like, Matt Ryan was very good.
Yeah,
Matt Ryan was very
was an MVP that year.
But when you
dial it back a touch,
Kyle Shanahan has elevated QB after QB after QB, but now Purdy has been elevated and then took the offense to a whole new level these last couple of years. I think it's put his statistical case up against any other quarterback, and you can make a case that he's been the most efficient quarterback in the league over the last 3 or 4 years.
But again, I go back to that debate that was raging before he was paid and then as he was paid. Like the credit pie, it doesn't matter how much of it is Brock Purdy. The point is, it's the totality of that offense. It's Shanahan together with Purdy, together with George Kittle and the other offensive weapons, Christian McCaffrey, et cetera, that they can deploy. That collection is amazing, right? And that's what you're talking about. It's like it doesn't really matter how much of it is Purdy. It's when when those guys are all out there together, or Shanahan on the sideline together, that's what's unstoppable right now.
By the way, really quick, George Kittle limited as of yesterday, missed last week.
With his ankle.
Yeah, he thought that he was going to be playing last week.
Yeah,
the thing swelled up on him, so he also thinks he's going to play this week. So
yeah,
it's a big one. Obviously, they were so good the other day without him, but man, he's played really well this year, and he's one of the best all-around tight ends in the league still.
Yeah.
All that said, I will take Seattle.
Same.
Week. I will doubt the Niners once again.
Same.
But not really done. I think it's going to be a great game. But I can't wait to see that Niners offense against this Seattle defense.
It's the battle of the opposites in my clinging to my priors mode. Like for a long time, I thought that Seattle might be the best team in the NFL based off how they were playing. So I'm kind of still believing they can get back to that level if Darnold goes back to playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
I think if we go back to our preseason predictions, we both said this. I think the NFC West, we both said if any team wins this division, of all the divisions, we wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Clearly wrong about Arizona.
Right. Yeah.
But now we're in this case where it's like the Rams, I still trust the Rams more than any team in the NFL, and they don't have a chance to win this division. I still do.
Meanwhile, the 49ers were the team that mentally I basically wrote off when they lost Bosa and Warner, and yet the longer it goes, the more it's like you probably can't write them off anymore. So my priors would still say Seattle over San Francisco. So I'm clinging to that for one more game. But if the 49ers win it, then
by the way,
clearly going to have to reassess.
I know we've spent an hour on 3 games.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan has still never not made the NFC Championship
really?
in a
That's
year.
Still true?
Well, because was Purdy missed time last year, right? He missed a little bit of time last year, didn't he?
Enough to make it. But
maybe last year was the only year that he didn't make the NFC Championship when he at least had his starting quarterback.
Right.
And he did make it in a year when he had to go from Jimmy Garoppolo to Purdy.
Yeah.
Just saying the percentage is high that they're NFC Championship or better.
But he missed like a game or two last year. I think last year.
Okay, so last year was the first year. All right. Yeah. We have one more thing on this game, because we're talking about how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you could bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped. You could jump on a new spread or a live money line. Wide receivers heating up. You could bet the next touchdown score or total yards. You think that drive's going to stall in the red zone. You could take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast. It's fun. And with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding the momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel gets you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas and affiliation with Kidstar Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777. Or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpline.ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. So the one last piece we have here is Christian McCaffrey over under 67.5 rushing yards. Going up against the Seattle defense. We talked a little bit about McCaffrey on yesterday's show. Again, I brought this up yesterday. Would it surprise you that McCaffrey's averaging 3.9 yards per attempt this year? Tied for 39th in the NFL. But he's got he's very high volume when it comes to over 300 carries, and they've been feeding him all season and in the pass game.
And a ton, of receiving input as well. I mean, him and Bijan are both extremely high up in that not all-purpose scrimmage yards number. So, I mean, he's been an important player for them. They're absolutely loading him up. I mean, his workload in the last sort of several weeks has been remarkably consistent. It's like 20 to 25 carries every single week, like clockwork. Now, those have averaged a very different output in terms of yardage, but they are going to give him 20 to 25 carries in the game if they can possibly do it. Like unless the game script gets completely out of control and they have to pivot. So he's going to get the chances. The question is just, can he, average enough to get over that number against Seattle?
Last time he was under 67.5 was Cleveland in Week 13.
Right.
And then before that, Week 10 against the Rams. But he's been over every single week since Week 9. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, and Seattle have a very good run defense. So it will be one of the more difficult defenses he's going up against to get it. But I think that they're going to give him the opportunities to, and so I will go over.
Yeah, I want to say under as far as like it's a tough defense you're going against. But remember, Seattle did get beat up a little bit against the Rams offensive line a couple weeks ago. I think the volume piece, I don't think they want Purdy dropping back 50 times against the Seattle defense. So I'll go over as well, just from a volume perspective. FanDuel.com/33rd. Go check it out. All right, 25 games to get through. Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers, the other winning in game. It's Sunday Night Football. Ravens favored by 3.5 here. This one's going to be easy because we talked to Pony yesterday. Maybe we'll go quick.
We know how it's going to go.
We're going to go quick through this one. Ravens and Steelers, winner wins the AFC North. 2 8-8 teams, 8-8 Ravens and the 9-7 Steelers. Right, the Steelers already have their winning record. We had Andrew Filipponi on the show yesterday. So if you're a Steelers fan or a Ravens fan and you want a little bit more analysis, mostly Pittsburgh related, check out our discussion yesterday. But as we've asked on the show, we asked the questions, what are the Tomlin trends? The extremely consistent trends. And Pony did remind us that home underdog, Mike Tomlin, one of the best win percentages of all time, if not the best. So home underdog, Mike Tomlin. And this would be the pattern, right? After last week's utter disappointment, where you had 5 drives in the fourth quarter with a Hall of Fame quarterback to win the division, 5 drives, and you failed on all 5 of those. Coming off that disappointment, just like a month ago, there was fire Tomlin chants, and then they come back and win and look better than ever and beat the Ravens right as you're ready to give up on the Steelers. They're probably going to come back and win this game, aren't they?
Yeah, quite possibly. We also had one of our, what do you call them, power listeners?
Or Mike, viewer, power viewer.
Yeah, sure. Mike, who's emailed in a lot, he emailed in with all of the Tomlin trend stats that he was able to find down the years.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He had like 11 or 12 of them or something. There's a few of them are pretty funny. Like the fact that he is 19-0
Read them all.
against the Browns at home is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Browns have been terrible during a lot of that time, but still.
And they haven't won on the road in a couple years.
Yeah, 19-0 is pretty difficult to do against anything. One of the ones that would be relevant to this is one-score game wizardry, he describes this as, which is this is the most Tomlin thing statistically. In one-score games, under an 8-point margin of victory, he is 114-86 career, which is 57% win rate. The league baseline is basically it's a coin flip.
50,
right?
Yeah.
So it's the most clean, like Tomlin has an edge thing out there that you can find, which is in these close one-score games, Tomlin is 7 percentage points better than the league average, which is one of the reasons he usually has or always has a non-losing record, not a winning record.
If you brought Tomlin, should he be the coach of the Steelers, as like a court case, the evidence on both sides, like you'd have a stack of evidence in the positive and a stack of evidence in the negative, and it would all land at 9-8.
Yeah,
like it would all land at 9 or 10 wins, because it's like you lose all these games that you're not supposed to, you win all these games you're not supposed to, and it all lands at 9 or 10 wins.
The one that if someone sent me this email, like an anonymous tip, and like from an anonymous blank email address to like the owner of the Steelers, Mr. Rooney. The one that I would want to ask him about is the Thursday night thing, right? If I was an owner, I'm like, what the hell is this about? How is this So on Thursday night games, right? All Thursday night games, Tomlin is 9-12. So we're already like
home or away.
Right. We're already well below his baseline normally. On road Thursday night games, he's 2-10. And then road Thursday against the AFC North, he has never won. And again, the AFC North typically has some pretty terrible teams in it, right? Like 50% of that division tends to be crap in a lot of the years that Tomlin's been the head coach. So like, I would want to know, what are you doing in the course of a short week that is causing these teams to be terrible every time?
And that's what I think is most interesting about this, because we're talking about across multiple quarterbacks. We're talking about there's been points where their defense, I know the Steelers as an organization are known for their defense.
Yeah.
But they had stretches of the Tomlin era where they were awful. They've had stretches like coming into this year where the personnel looks outstanding. Or when, TJ Watt has a compliment, they look great. Right? I mean, so it's been across multiple roster strengths, multiple quarterbacks, quarterbacks who are rookies like Kenny Pickett, retreads like Mitchell Trubisky, 40-something-year-old Hall of Famers like Aaron Rodgers. And it's almost like no matter what the mix is on the roster, high-end receivers, they've had incredible receivers. They've got one of the worst receiving cores this year, right? They've been on all these different ends of roster construction, but it still always seems to end up in the same place. And then you have Pony drop that stat yesterday, which I know has been eating at him for almost a decade. In like their last 5 playoff games, they've been outscored 73-0, which was that old Washington-Chicago championship game score. 73-0 in the first quarter in the playoffs. So the only reason why we harp on this so much is the consistency
that's the other
of Tomlin teams.
That's the other interesting playoff number from this is overall his playoff record is 8-11, whatever. His playoff record as a favorite is 7-4. His playoff record as an underdog, though, is 1-7. So this is the thing. Like, this is the consistency.
You get into the playoffs and you just...
It's like if you get into the playoffs with this 9-win type of record and you're therefore not a particularly strong team, they are going to lose based off historical trends. Like, they do not win those games.
Well, it's because
they've one time.
Correct me, I haven't looked it up. I think the last 3 times they've made the playoffs, they've been the 7 seed.
Right.
They got smoked by Kansas City, smoked by Buffalo, smoked by the Ravens.
And look, most of the time those teams are going to lose.
Right, but they've been crushed by teams who historically get a bye.
Yeah.
And they're in line to maybe do that again.
Right.
If they're not in line to do that because they could win the division and have a 4 and have a home game, and maybe that changes things. But they also got smoked by the Browns at home and gave up 50 or whatever it was.
But the point is, like, they invariably lose those games, and according to Pony's numbers, they lose hard.
So here we are. Again, I usually hate the historic trends, but there is so much consistency there. And this season's been the same thing, right? Like, once you thought the Steelers were different, they lose to the Bengals. And then when you think they're starting to lose it, they beat the 8-1 Colts. And then when you really think, Tomlin's going to get fired and they look awful again, and they come back and they beat the Ravens in Baltimore. And it was the very best game I think we saw from the Steelers all year, especially offensively. So can they do it again? The bigger on-field variable, rather than this high-level stuff, is this Pittsburgh pass game and what they're going to be able to do without DK Metcalf. We saw the inconsistency last week, the inability to get anything going down the field. Aaron Rodgers, feeding Marquez Valdez-Scantling to no avail. But this Ravens defense is nothing like the Browns defense. Certainly not in Cleveland, where it's really tough to play against that defense. So I think the Steelers should have more success even without DK Metcalf, but I'm interested to see how much they try to run the ball, get the backs involved, Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren out of the backfield. And remember, that was one of the key plays in the last matchup. They got busted coverage to Jalen Warren where Mike Green was supposed to peel off, and that became the deciding touchdown in that game for the Steelers. I think they can have a lot more success through the air with their season on the line here against Baltimore.
Yeah, and they need to. The Ravens are another one of those teams that does not get a ton of pressure at all. We talked about that a little bit on yesterday's show. We said before, San Francisco is the second worst team in pressure rate. The Panthers are the worst. The Raiders are the third worst, and then Baltimore is the fourth worst, according to the NGS numbers. So they are not going to get a ton of pressure against Aaron Rodgers. Their coverage is going to be asked to hold up. Marlon Humphrey in particular, I think, has been really beat up when that's been the case. Like, teams have gone after him, and he's been exploited quite a lot. So there are going to be plays to be made against this Baltimore defense, and Rodgers needs to step up and make the plays.
And then on the other side, we're coming off a Ravens week where they dominated on the ground. Derrick Henry, 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards. Do they feed him at just a ridiculous level? Lamar Jackson was back practicing yesterday. So he practiced in full yesterday. The Lamar Jackson trend would be he practiced in full yesterday, and then he's going to come down with some kind of illness where he misses practice today or tomorrow. So just keep an eye on that. He'll probably have some flu-like symptoms or something. Just historically, it comes up. But we're expecting Lamar Jackson to play coming off that back contusion. But again, what's that game plan look like? Because the Ravens have been interesting because you haven't had full mobile Lamar for most of this season. So sometimes they get pass happy, right? There's not a lot of Lamar Jackson games where they play it out the same way they did with Huntley the other day.
Yeah.
Where we're like,
that's the thing.
Hand it off to Henry. Even though you have Lamar Jackson, we're just going Derrick Henry.
Lamar Jackson is too good for you to run that type of game plan. So in a weird dynamic, they might actually run a much less efficient game plan for beating most teams by having Lamar Jackson out there if he's not 100% healthy. Now, if Lamar's 100% healthy, he's an MVP, and therefore letting him loose with the football through the air is absolutely a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But he hasn't been 100% healthy for basically the entirety of this year. So you have this somewhat diminished version of Lamar Jackson going out there and trying to pass the football at will and not having some of the weapons that he normally has in his arsenal in terms of being able to avoid sacks, in terms of being able to extend plays, scramble, pick up extra yardage, et cetera, et cetera. And so your passing game is a lot less efficient than it used to be when he was playing at an MVP level. And in doing that, you're not running Derrick Henry 35 times a game where he'll just take over and dominate the fourth quarter. So this is a really interesting situation where, again, Lamar Jackson is clearly a much, much better quarterback than Snoop Huntley. But having Snoop Huntley out there might force them into a game plan, I think, that is significantly better suited to beating most teams, including Pittsburgh. So I don't know what the game plan looks like if you have Lamar out there. I don't think they try and replicate what they did a week ago, even though they just saw the effect that it has. I think if Lamar is the quarterback, we will see a significantly more pass-happy balance to this offense, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Now, the game got out of hand a little bit from a game flow perspective last time, but the 42 dropbacks for Lamar Jackson. He was 19 of 35 for 219 against Pittsburgh in Week 14. That's the other Lamar and Pittsburgh and Tomlin type of trend. Remember last year I harped on it a ton. Lamar Jackson's in the middle of this incredible statistical season, and dead smack in the middle of it, they play Pittsburgh, and he goes, same thing, 16 of 33. Like, there is incredible consistency with once a year, Lamar Jackson has trouble against the Steelers. And then, remember, they played twice later, and Lamar, solved it, right? He cooked them the Christmas weekend or whatever that Saturday game was, 3 touchdowns, 9 yards per attempt. And then in the playoffs, because it's the playoffs, they smoked him. But if you said Lamar Jackson, who statistically has been incredible, 2-time MVP, who has given Lamar Jackson the biggest problems, it's probably playing in Cleveland and playing against Tomlin once a year. The Steelers have given Lamar Jackson probably the most problems. And all that said, he had 2 incredible games against them last year at the end of the year for the first time. So something's got to give there as well. Tomlin and the Steelers have generally done a good job against Lamar Jackson outside of those 2 games last year.
Yeah. And it is, again, it's the type of game that you're going to get good Tomlin in, right? They just had a letdown game. Everyone's calling for his head again. And, this is the type of game that he finds a way of winning and then gets wrecked in the playoffs.
Yeah. And then all that said, the Ravens, I don't think they're that dangerous if they get in.
No.
But it's tough. I don't know if they're more, Steelers are more dangerous playing at home and with DK Metcalf back. So if they can survive this week, then I probably feel better about them in the playoffs than I have in a decade.
We're like a week removed from Pittsburgh actually looking like they were getting everything together and, looking dangerous for the first time any team has looked dangerous in this division. And you're like, actually, maybe this is different. And then they go and lose to the Browns. You're like, all right, fire Tomlin. It's the same thing again. Everyone's, useless. Let's move on. But Baltimore's never looked like that this season. Their sort of run to this division has been, and therefore what they could do in the playoffs, it's all been entirely theoretical. At no point have they beaten a good team this year, at all. No,
Packers.
Right? Oh, the Packers. That's
just
last week, right?
Yeah.
So last week with Snoop Huntley and Derrick Henry running a million times was the first time they've beaten anybody effectively.
Yeah, and Henry against the Steelers the first time Henry did have 25 carries, but for 94 yards. That's why it's not as simple as literally just hand it off every time. Because the other day, I think I saw Mina Kimes put the stat out there that he had 15 or 20 carries of 5+ yards the other day. That's ridiculous efficiency because he didn't break one until the very end. It was like for 30 yards. That's tough to replicate, right? I always call that a hope, not a strategy, because they ran a ton of plays against Pittsburgh the other day. Lamar threw the ball a lot, or last month. Lamar threw the ball a lot. Henry did have 25 carries, but Steelers' run defense was better in that game. So Steelers' run defense, by the way, is also hit or miss, right? They have some weeks where they get gashed. It's kind of like Buffalo. Some weeks where they hold their own. So we'll see. Henry, though, last 3 games, 9 yards per attempt against Cincinnati, 7 yards per attempt against New England, then didn't get the ball in the second half or the fourth quarter, 6 yards per attempt and 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against Green Bay. I would love to see what happens in a heavy Derrick Henry game here where they put the ball in his hands, especially with Lamar coming off injury.
Yeah, I think they need to. I mean, I don't think they win if they try and pass this to success.
All right, man. Baltimore's favored by 3.5 here. So Mike Tomlin is a home underdog on Sunday Night Football with the season on the line. Where are you going to go?
Wins and covers, just like the history says.
Just going by the trends. Pittsburgh. Taking Pittsburgh. I'll tell Harry the trends, too. I'm sure he'll take the Steelers.
Show him the
as
email.
Well. All right, man. Let's fly through the rest of this slate because that was a lot. Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. Patriots by 10.5 here. They technically have a shot at the number 1 seed. They would need the Denver Broncos to lose, but we'll talk about that game next.
The resting Chargers team.
Right. The Chargers are resting their starters against Denver. These this game will happen at 4:25 at the same time as Chargers Broncos. So we haven't necessarily heard word if New England's going to play it out, play a half, whatever it might be. But I think they would assume they're going to win and or they're going to have the number 2 seed coming out of this and not have a chance to play for the 1.
Yeah, and they'll probably, I mean, we already know the Chargers are resting people, so I would imagine they'll have a pretty good idea heading into the game how that's going to go. Maybe they'll play people for a little bit and then pull everyone pretty soon. But, yeah, I'd kind of be surprised if they play everybody for the entirety of this game based off the other things, the other factors at play.
They played a pretty close game way back, I think it was week 2.
Yeah.
In Miami. Obviously, Tua was playing then, and we didn't know what the season would look like for Drake May. He had a couple big-time throws in that game and started to, that was their first win, New England, coming off remember they lost to the Raiders this season.
Opening game.
But, yeah, New England, they're hot. They're probably going to have to play the following week, and I would expect that they're going to get their reps in and then maybe rest starters in the second half, I would guess.
Yeah, I would assume they'll try and pull some people out of this. You've got the Stephon Diggs thing lingering over this entire thing. I would assume they're going to play him just because.
And Christian Barmore now, too.
Yeah, that's right. That happened after we went off the air yesterday. Christian Barmore accused of assault. Is that what he's been accused of?
Multiple assault, 2 assault charges in 2 days for New England.
Except from widely different incident times. Apparently the Barmore thing was like in August or something. The Diggs thing we talked about, that incident happened early December. So that's a much more recent incident to come to light. The Barmore thing, I think, happened in August, and for some reason it's just coming out now. But either way, those are 2 pretty important players for New England who now have this lingering over them. I feel like the Patriots are just going to play them and then wait for things to play out. And when they have to sit them, if and when that shows up, that's what they'll do. But that's an important variable for New England, absolutely.
Then for Miami, again, they fired GM Chris Greer early in the season. Mike McDaniel has played out the rest of the season. We still don't know if he's necessarily back or not as the head coach of the Dolphins. There was a report out there this week that if he was to be fired and Kevin Stefanski was to be fired, that the Browns would be interested in Mike McDaniel. I don't know if that was valid or not. I'm just reciting a thing that I read on the internet, which is
what if they
irresponsible.
They could just swap. Trade head coaches.
Yeah.
Straight up. We could do it. We don't even need to fire them. We could just trade them straight up of the offseason.
Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, would be, when you talk about, I hate using the word retread, but say second chance coaches, he'd be high on a lot of teams' lists.
Yeah, look,
Giants,
dude,
maybe, or
if
teams would want Stefanski.
Yes. If Stefanski got fired, he would be immediately rehired somewhere. I mean, he would, again, this season, to me, has gone entirely to plan for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Like, this is exactly what I think their strategy was heading into the season, which is we're going to start old man Flacco so that all the veterans don't have a revolt and, mutiny before the season even begins. And then that will last a month because old man Flacco isn't very good anymore. And then we will turn to the 2 rookies, and those guys will each play a bunch of games, and there'll be an initial wave of excitement because they're young rookies, and we'll see what they have, and then they'll probably not be very good. And then by the time that all wraps up, it's the end of the year, and we're done. And we're not very good, but we're positioned for next year's draft because we have multiple first-round picks, and this is when we'll be serious. Okay, that's exactly what's happened. So if that was the plan all along, you can't fire people at the end of it because that was the plan. Like, they've executed the plan. You can't go, well, this is not good enough. So the idea, Andrew Berry, I would be absolutely staggered if Andrew Berry got fired. Stefanski, I think, is more vulnerable just because he's the lower man on the totem pole. And if they decide somebody has to be gone as a sacrificial lamb, Stefanski will be the sacrifice. But I still think it would be crazy to run into the season with this as the game plan, execute the game plan, and then be like, now you got to get fired. Sorry.
We're talking Dolphins, Patriots.
Yeah.
But sorry to bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, keep an eye on Mike McDaniel. Quinn Ewers getting another start here.
I also think Mike
Dolphins.
McDaniel would be extremely coveted as well because, all right, different dynamic at play, but he's done some very good things as well. And the longer these things go, the more opinions are aligned that Tua is the problem.
There's something about, I might be biased in this, and I could be proven wrong. There's something about the way the Dolphins have won the last couple of years as a speed, warm weather team that just doesn't fit in my brain in Cleveland. The same way I can't put Tua in Cleveland because of the arm. I can't put Kirk Cousins in Cleveland or Pittsburgh because of the arm. Like I think that matters. The physicality of the team, I think, does matter a little bit when it comes to the style of play. So that's, Mike McDaniel's teams have not looked good when they have to go to Kansas City in the cold, right? They don't, and that's with speed, like with Tyreek Hill and with Jalen Waddle. They don't look fast anymore when you got to play cold weather games. So that is the one thing that is that I'm questioning if that's true.
The Dolphins are on a little sort of run of rescuing, or at least they're kind of like the Falcons. They're putting some gloss back on the season that was basically done already by the first half. Like, they were 1-6, and now they're 7-9. So like, they're a win away from putting some real respectability on this season.
And we had low expectations for them coming in, roster-wise, and so it kind of matches the roster, but it's still, it's not the trend you're looking for if you're the Dolphins.
No, and the fact that they've basically had to move on from their quarterback is obviously an extremely bad turn of events for them. But I think it does show that this is the reason I think they didn't fire Mike McDaniel. Is the team never quit on him. He's still doing some good things. Devon Achane is fantastic. Like, there are some pieces to work with here. And if he can make it work with Quinn Ewers or whatever, even better, because that's one way out of the Tua problem is having an extremely cheap quarterback going forward. But they're not a bad football team at this point. Like, I think they still underachieved in some pretty critical areas, but they've been playing most teams pretty hard.
Just to correct things I've said before.
Yes?
New England could be the 3 seed in a couple different scenarios here. So if they want to hold on to the 2, like, do they care? Because we're talking the 6 and 7 seed could be either the Chargers or the Bills.
Yeah.
Right? So if they want to hold on to the 2, that could be Buffalo. That's like, it's about 50-50 that it could be the Chargers as the 6 and Buffalo as the 7. So I don't know if you're sitting there playing matchups. Oh, I'd rather play Buffalo. I'd rather play the Chargers. I don't know if you're choosing that if you're New England, or if you're just saying I'd rather be the 2 seed because if we played Jacksonville, we're at home in the second round, whatever it might be. But if the Patriots lose, Jags win, a couple other scenarios happen, it could be the Jags jumping to the 2, New England to the 3.
Yeah.
So they have something to play for in that regard. And then the off chance that the Chargers backups upset the Broncos, they could have the 1 seed, but that's certainly
I
less
doubt
likely.
they care who they're playing, but I think definitely the potential of having home field advantage.
I'd still rather be a 2 than a 3.
Particularly in this year of wide open, all bets are off, anything could happen. Like, even if Denver is the 1 seed going into it, Denver could easily lose their first match they play against anybody in these playoffs.
Yeah.
And if that happens and you're the 2 seed, suddenly you're home field advantage the whole way.
It's true. So I think New England plays it out here, knowing that now. And they are favored by 10.5. Vegas is expecting, the better team to probably play it out and win. So where are you going to go with this one? It is in New England.
Yeah.
Well.
I'm going to go with Miami, keeping it closer than 10.5.
Yeah, I will. Nah, I don't know. No, I'll take New England. Nah, that's a lot. I'll take Miami. It's a lot of points.
It is.
I'm playing out Quinn Ewers in the offense, Miami's defense against New England's offense. I don't think they slow them down, though, if New England plays it out. So, but I'll take Miami to keep it a little bit closer as well. Figure out what Harry says.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Los Angeles Chargers at the Denver Broncos. Broncos favored by 11.5. Jim Harbaugh's already said the Chargers are going to rest their starters.
Yep.
What does that offensive look like if they're resting starters, by the way?
Awful. Can you imagine what the offensive line is with any starters rested? Not that they have any starters to rest on the offensive line, but man.
Maybe they're all playing because they're not really starters.
Right. Seriously. Plus, I mean, who do they have if they have to? I doubt. I think the offensive line may end up being relatively intact, but everybody else of significance is going to be sitting down.
It's funny because the NFL has done this thing where it's all division games the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's awesome. Like everything we've talked about so far, it's like, wow, Seattle, San Francisco for the 1 seed, and Baltimore and Pittsburgh winning in, and all these different things. But then sometimes you also get robbed of a great matchup. Like last year, we got robbed of Chiefs-Broncos, 2 playoff teams, right? Because the Chiefs rested everybody. Same thing, Chargers-Broncos. We got robbed of a Chargers-Broncos significant game because it's Week 18 and the Chargers are saying, we don't care if we're the 6 or the 7 and let's go. We'd rather rest. So that's what we have this week. It's in Denver. They played a great game the first time around. Remember, the Broncos, of their 3 losses, 2 came on game-winning field goals. Week 2 against Indianapolis, Week 3 against the Chargers. Played a great game in LA the first time around.
Kind of curious what a Trey Lance game plan looks like for the Chargers. This would be the first start he's had, right?
He came in relief a couple times.
Yeah, but there'll be a very different, I would imagine, game plan designed for him as a starting quarterback throughout the week than there would be, hey, go in there because Herbert's hurt his hand, you know? I would imagine, and Harbaugh's a guy who's had, mobile quarterbacks that don't necessarily play conventionally in the past and has done really well with those guys. So I'm kind of curious what this game plan looks like for Trey Lance and if it's effective. Because
against the Broncos starters, their pass rush, their
the
pass
assumption
coverage.
will be the Broncos are a really good defense. The Chargers are resting everybody. They're screwed. They're going to get nothing going. But actually, Trey Lance has been a bad quarterback in the NFL for basically his career. But the athletic talent is nuts. The arm is nuts. Like the tools are there for him to execute something and do something quite good with a coach who's got a track record of doing stuff like that. So I'm at least intrigued by what that looks like. Now, maybe it results immediately in 2 pick sixes, and it's like, okay, fine. But for at least the first quarter, I'll be interested.
Yeah, and Lance, again, behind a backup offensive line, or at
Which
least
is bad.
you can't really remember when you rest starters in the NFL, you can't literally rest all 22 starters,
right?
Because there's not enough roster spots. So somebody's got to play. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge, I think, for the Chargers. Is 11.5 enough? Too much?
No, I'm going to say that Denver covers 11.5.
Yeah. You remember, Denver wins. They're going to play this out, of course. If they win, they get the number 1 seed. They get it locked in, home field through the playoffs, and they get the bye next week, the all-important bye. So I'll take Denver to win and cover the 11.5. Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. This one's Sunday at 1. Minnesota favored by 5.5 here. You've got the 9-6-1 Packers with the number 7 seed locked up, and then the Vikings at 8-8, man.
Yeah.
Saving their season. A little gloss on the season, even though they won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, man. Imagine if they just had a viable quarterback at any point in the season, really.
It's also one of those you just look back for like a game or two. If they just had that, it would look a little bit different.
Yeah, if they just had even remotely average quarterback play for the majority of the season. This is a good football team. Their defense is doing amazing work. The offense, the receiving group is good, even though they haven't necessarily played at their best this season. The offensive line should be good, but for a lot of certainly the early part of the season, it's been banged up. I'm kind of torn on this. There are teams that lose a high-level offensive tackle, and it's like you can't tell. Nothing changes. It doesn't make an impact in the game. Nothing. Like the 49ers. Trent Williams goes down play 1 of the game, and they bring in somebody, and the gap between Trent Williams and his backup should be as big as anybody in the NFL. And it's like that offense didn't skip a beat. Minnesota goes from Christian Darrisaw to Justin School, who admittedly that's again about as large a drop as you're going to get from starter to backup. And it's like it cripples the offense immediately. It's like I think part of that is the power of the quarterback and how much he affects, his own protection and stuff. But I also don't know if there's a thing where like certain offenses are just more vulnerable to losing offensive linemen, and it really does make a bigger impact. I'm never sure how much to harp on that, because I think for some teams it does genuinely transform games, and then I think for other teams they don't even notice the difference. Nothing changes, nothing alters. We just carry on. Shanahan's
done a great job handling it through the years.
Yeah,
others haven't as much. Honestly, Kansas City's been a little fragile based off their tackle play.
But New England loses Will Campbell. It's like, if anything, Drake May's MVP candidacy has been enhanced during that time. I don't know what to do with that as a thing.
Anything else to watch for in this game? Packers are going to rest their starters. There are no scenarios where they're not the 7 seed, so they're locked in.
They just claimed Trayvon Diggs, so
they did. Yeah,
he could easily come in and start this game just because he's a backup, and they're going to be playing backups.
Get some reps for next week when they're going to either Philadelphia or Chicago the following week.
Mm-hmm.
Could get that the rubber match against the Bears.
Who are Green Bay starting at quarterback? Are they going? Is this Clayton Tune?
Given Malik Willis's injuries, I imagine that they would try to go Clayton Tune here.
So this is a Clayton Tune Max Brosmer game?
Correct. Sunday at 1. Make a pick.
You're welcome, NFL. I'm going with Green
Bay.
Bay.
Brian Flores isn't going to let up on Clayton Tune.
Brian
Flores.
I mean, look, Clayton Tune is probably a better quarterback than Max Brosmer, but Flores' defense against Clayton Tune this could be like what's the over-under, 36 and a half?
36 and a half. I think
might be 26 and a half.
This is a 9-6 game.
Yeah. Green Bay.
And the under. Taking the under.
Definitely taking the under, but I'm also taking Green Bay to cover.
You're taking Green Bay to cover?
Yes.
Why?
Because
Brosmer just won a game by 10 where they had 3 net passing yards. This Minnesota defense, man.
It's the second part of that I'm focusing on.
I'll take Minnesota against Tune.
Yeah.
Likely Tune.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're going.
Likely Tune.
Put
it this way. If it's Willis, they win comfortably. If it's Tune, they might still win by 6.
Win comfortably. Minnesota just smoked Detroit.
Malik Willis is amazing.
You don't need to emotionally hedge anymore.
Malik Willis is phenomenal.
He is.
If Malik Willis plays, they will win comfortably.
Malik Willis is great. He's already made himself enough money. He should rest.
He should sit himself out.
By the way, really quick, it's kind of like that whole tired and wired deal. You and I are like, Malik Willis has made himself some money in free agency. Which team is going to sign Malik Willis?
Yeah.
And then the wired is Green Bay should trade Jordan Love.
I've seen that. What is wrong with a certain subset of Green Bay fans? I keep coming on back. The people that want Matt LaFleur fired, the people that what are you talking about?
I don't know.
This is a playoff football team who has a really good starting quarterback and apparently has unearthed a really good backup quarterback. And you're like, this is only bad things here. I can only see negative in this. Matt LaFleur is terrible at his job. Jordan Love should be traded, and we should run with Malik Willis. I don't understand what's wrong with you. Is this just a thing? Is it too cold up there in Green Bay? Is it messing with your brain? What is happening to these people?
I don't know. I'm not saying it, but
Jordan Love is really good.
Yeah, Jordan Love's good. He's been good.
And you've already paid him. Jordan Love is currently the number 4 graded quarterback at PFF. Now,
top 3 in EPA.
To be fair, Malik Willis is the number 3 graded quarterback in PFF
on
a much smaller sample
sizes with it.
But still, you don't typically start suggesting we trade away the number 4 graded quarterback over a season. No.
Who has played well more often than not
the
last 3 years. All right, especially after that first half of 23. I'll take Minnesota. Harry TBD. Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles by 3.5 here. Over-unders 39.5. It's Sunday at 4:25. The Eagles are going to rest their starters, apparently.
Yeah.
They've already obviously locked up the division. And how did I lose the list here? So the Eagles have a few scenarios where they could get the 2 seed. There are a few scenarios, but they are more than likely locked in
Right.
to the 3.
They evidently don't care about it. So
No, they don't care. They don't care enough, which is interesting because the most likely 6 seed, so the most likely matchup is Eagles-Rams, with the Rams as the 6. The other potential matchup is Eagles-Niners. So if they're the 3 seed, this is what I'm saying, if they're the 3, they're most likely playing the Rams, could be the Niners. But if they were the 2, they could play Green Bay. And it's not significant enough for them to play that out because they would need Chicago to lose as well against Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So they've decided to rest. Is this Tanner McKee time?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you talk about the Green Bay discourse. The discourse in Philadelphia, if Tanner McKee comes into this game and absolutely balls out, is going to get nuts.
I would have thought, I don't even know what to say about Jalen Hurts.
He also legitimately, by the way, becomes another one of those target quarterbacks where maybe you do trade for a Tanner McKee as your solution at starter because, okay, very small sample size, but literally everything we would have seen from Tanner McKee at this point would have been pretty damn good.
It's a fascinating dynamic. I think if you think about this weekend, right, like Fernando Mendoza's playing football today. Ty Simpson's playing against him, 2 quarterbacks who could go in the top 10. Dante Moore's playing today. The performances of some of these college quarterbacks today paired with what we've seen from Malik Willis, what we could see from Tanner McKee this weekend, might determine some team decisions here.
Yeah.
Do we want to draft? Do we want to and I think we're seeing more because of the quarterback draft classes being a little bit more uncertain the last 2 years. I think there's more of these Malik Willis, Tanner McKee, whoever, more of the thought process that you take a shot on one of those guys versus drafting. So that's an interesting weekend for all of that.
Yeah. What I do think you're going to get, okay, the Tanner McKee thing is its own independent thing to watch. Does he play well? Does he not play well? Does he therefore position himself as a target for a team that might want to give him a chance to start somewhere? All things to be interested in. The other thing that it does is give you another data point of how much of this offensive malaise that they seem to fall into is Jalen Hurts versus the offensive play design, the system. Because I've seen at least one measure out there where Kevin Patullo, the offense coordinator, looks really good relative to other like creative offensive minds. And yet he's the guy presiding over this offense that keeps running stale, is being talked about as too predictable. What if the offense isn't too predictable? It's just Jalen Hurts that's too predictable, or the way he runs the offense is too predictable. Because this is the thing you can never really do, is separate the coach from the quarterback, right? Like sometimes you see this in run-pass ratio. And it's like, why didn't we call more run plays? And the coach like, I called 8 more run plays, and every time he checked out of it at the line,
or
right?
he checked out of it.
Right? Yeah. It's like, so you can't criticize the guy for not calling the run plays if every time he calls one, the quarterback bails on it and goes somewhere else. So what if the offensive design is actually perfectly creative, but Jalen Hurts every time is like, A.J. Brown on the outside, I'm in. Like, and if McKee comes in and suddenly the offense looks creative and diverse and it's targeting all areas of the field and it's way more difficult to defend, I mean, now you're starting to stack up data points that says maybe this is just Jalen Hurts.
Now, it might not be like for like because you're not going to have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
But the point is what they're targeting. Forget who they're targeting. Where are they targeting? How are they targeting it? And again, this is not necessarily that means therefore Jalen Hurts is bad. It's that this is a unique element of his game, which is he might play the game this way.
I feel like we could spend some time on this in the offseason, but I want to touch on it quickly. That video the other day of the kid film watchers, Gen Z John Madden, as someone was saying, like super energetic film breakdowns. And I know a lot of the film gurus are like, oh, he doesn't know what he's saying, blah, blah, blah. Like he's high energy and he does.
But he says it with energy and he's confident, therefore.
It's fun, though. It's a lot of fun. But he had the Aaron Rodgers video the other day showing the number of times that he may have passed up open receivers to take these low percentage one-on-ones. And the point that I wanted to make was like, that's been Rodgers for like a decade.
Yeah.
Right? That was what Mike McCarthy's offense turned into. Mm-hmm. That's what Nathaniel Hackett's offense turned into. This is what Arthur Smith's offense is turning into. Therefore, it's Aaron Rodgers. And that's why the quarterback position is so fascinating, right? Because if you use the word system quarterback and this and that, true, but you have the poetic license as the quarterback and you have more control than any other position in sports.
Yeah.
More control than any other position other than maybe an NBA superstar, right? No one position in any sport has more impact on the output of your team, wins and losses, and what your offense does than the quarterback and, say, an NBA superstar, because there's only 5 players on the court. That's it. So that's what's interesting about this whole thing is Jalen Hurts has been in these offenses that have gone through these lulls over the last couple of years. So let's parking lot this for the offseason, because I want to talk a little bit about that, where it's like the system and then you have a guy like Purdy where you're like, well, he's got Kyle Shanahan, but he plays within these parameters well, but then when he adds his own flair to it, it's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. It's better than Nick Mullins and these other guys that Shanahan's gotten success out of.
It's a little bit like when you see these graphics that the analytics nerds love, the like clustering of schemes, right? And it's like, it doesn't really tell you much other than it identifies uniqueness of scheme and what sort of style these things play. It doesn't mean they're good at it or bad at it. It's just this is what they are. It's a little bit like that for some of these quarterbacks, where the Rodgers had this, like you said, the way he played the game. He also had it in terms of interceptions versus sacks, and like it's just descriptive, right? It's like this is a characteristic of the way he plays the game that is different and unusual and not normal relative to every other quarterback in the NFL. Now, that doesn't mean he's good or bad. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, but it is a descriptive element to his game that's unusual. And then you get it with Jalen Hurts, with Russell Wilson at his peak, with Kyler Murray. Like, these are what we're doing is articulating an unusual element to his game that might be inherent in the way he plays. And where it differs slightly from those cluster graphs is certainly for a few of those guys, it also might be an inefficiency in their game. Like, there's a reason most quarterbacks do not play this way. And so you might be describing, okay, this is a unique element to his game, and it also might be a kind of problematic element to his game. But it doesn't mean that he isn't good, right? He might be a very, very good quarterback who just has this unusual element to his game. Now, this is all moot if Tanner McKee goes out there and it looks exactly the same and it's still problematic. But if McKee goes out there and suddenly the thing looks unlocked from a schematic diversity point of view, well, then I think you're going to get a very real conversation of Jalen Hurts, the way Jalen Hurts plays football might create this element to this Eagles offense.
And then the counter to that would be like, well, he had great success with Shane Steichen and with Kellen Moore.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't mean it's not a
Brian
mutually
Johnson
exclusive
and Kevin
thing.
Petula,
Yeah,
right?
again, it's not a mutually exclusive thing. It doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts can't still win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
Like we saw that last year, right? But it does mean that almost certainly you are going to get stretches like this where teams are able to predict it, where teams are able to defend it, and it looks a little bit janky.
All right, man. All that said, in the confounding variables here, McKee playing with backups.
Yeah.
Washington's defense being terrible, kind of working against each other. But McKee, the only reason why we're talking him up to is every time he's been given an opportunity in the preseason, he's looked outstanding.
And the last time he came in one of these types of games.
Shout out to Mike Renner, who identified Tanner McKee to the point where an NFL team was like, how much is McKee's agent paying Mike Renner for his takes? And the answer is 0. He just had conviction in Tanner McKee. It's a big week for Renner.
Big week for Renner.
Eagles by 3.5 here Sunday at 4:25.
You know what? I just talked myself into flipping that. I was going to go Washington, but I'm going to go in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. Give me McKee.
I have breaking news, in fact, which I've just lost. What have we done with it? There it is.
Find it.
Chris Olave has been ruled out of this game because doctors have just discovered a blood clot on his lung. So his season just got shut down. Nick Underhill apparently was the first to report this.
Yikes. I did see that pop up. I did mean to. So insert that back into our Saints Falcons. I might take the Falcons now.
Yeah. Luckily, we didn't lean too much on him being a huge factor in this game, other than the fact that he played last week. But he won't be playing.
And he's really good. So season over for Chris Olave. I'm flipping to Atlanta. No, I'll still stick with New Orleans. It's the underdogs. All right, we've got the Chicago Bears hosting the Detroit Lions Sunday 4:25. Again, if Chicago wins, they have the number 2 seed. If they were to lose and Philadelphia to win, there's scenarios where it's flipping. Bears favored by 3 here, over under 49.5. The number 2 seed, Chicago Bears.
Yeah. with a chance. Do they have a chance of the 1 still? Or is it only
No.
the
It's
49ers
Seattle
are
or
flipped?
San Francisco.
Incredible season from Chicago, which can obviously still get better if they carry this in. They are the Lions, the flip side. Like, they've had the disappointing season, which it started pretty well. They were still looking quite good for first half of the season. Then the second half has really been a disappointment where they've lost against teams that they probably shouldn't have lost to, which really ended the season. And then they've also lost against the better teams, which would have been probably setting their level anyway. It keeps coming up, and I don't know that first thing Dan Campbell said in his press conference after the NFC title loss is, we may never get back here again. Like, it's hard to be this good in any given year. Like, this might have been our shot. And that's going to keep coming up every time this type of season happens for Detroit. And like, I think they've gotten a little bit unlucky with injuries this year. And they've also lost some unfortunate games. And I don't know if this necessarily means their window is closed or anything, but like, it does. I mean, he was right. Like, it's whether or not they ever get back there, his point was legit, which is, New England, Kansas City, they've kind of broken your interpretation of how hard this should be. But like, really, really good football teams never make it to a Super Bowl.
So the same, earmuffs for a minute, Hagel. You could say, and Jim, you could say the same thing about the Bears.
Yeah,
like you don't know if they're going to ever get back
right
to this again. Now, when we head into the offseason here, when we go fixing our teams in 5 minutes, in a couple months here, and we go through the roster for the Lions and the Bears, there's a pretty good chance we think that the Lions have a better team heading into next year.
Right.
After all said and done. Right. So even though all the optimism's high in Chicago and Detroit's had a little bit of a setback, and look, maybe Ben Johnson is a big factor. And if we go way back to this whole offseason, it was one of the biggest questions. How big of a factor is Ben Johnson? And
I mean,
there's enough. It's enough of a factor, but it doesn't mean like the Lions are in last place in perpetuity now in the North and the Bears have arrived just because it's their first year with Ben Johnson. They'll all get better.
You hear it all the time from rookies, who get on a good team their rookie year and they go to a Super Bowl or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is easy. Like, we're going to be back here every year, and then they never make it back. Like Dan Marino year 2 goes off that record-setting 1984 season, 5,000 yards.
We'll be back.
Right, goes to a Super Bowl, loses to the 49ers in Montana.
Just started scratching the surface.
Yeah, why wouldn't we now be, like, we're going to be the AFC powerhouse. We're going to be here every year.
Yeah.
I'm going to win 2 or 3 Super Bowls, whatever. And then he never even made it back to the game. Like, it's so hard to even make it to a Super Bowl. You may never see that again. And that's just sort of, it's unfortunate because this Detroit Lions team, I think the bones of it are still good. I still think they're overall, I do think look, we said this going into the year, right? What is the concern of this Lions team? They lost both coordinators in an offseason, and there's a pretty healthy chance that makes a big difference. And Dan Campbell took over play calling duties. It worked for a game against a terrible defense, and then I don't know that it's necessarily sustained. I don't know that I think they've missed. They've clearly missed Ben Johnson. And you could argue they've missed Aaron Glenn as well. I don't know that either side of the ball is necessarily loving life relative to previous years. So that, I think, has had an impact. But overall, the bones of this thing are still good. And unfortunately, they're not in playoff contention this year,
right,
from their point of view.
So the Bears
don't care.
Bears coming off their loss against the Niners. Offense was cooking, though.
Yeah.
Did a really nice job. If they win and or Philadelphia loses, they'll have the number 2 seed. That's the only chance. If they were to lose and Philadelphia wins, they would fall to the 3. So it looks like we are going to have the rubber match Bears-Packers in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's the most likely scenario. As far as this game,
this season has been setting up for playoff rematches of division rivalries. Like there's so many possibilities for that to happen in both conferences.
Yeah,
still
some fun ones.
It's nuts.
Well, because the AFC West has a couple teams, the NFC West has 3.
Yeah.
And the North has these 2. I mean, there's a lot.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. Anyway, still should be a fun game. Remember a couple years ago, before the Lions made the playoffs for 2 straight years, they did play it out in Week 18, knocked Aaron Rodgers and the Packers out of the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to – I mean, you're not knocking the Bears out of the playoffs or anything, but that was like the culture win for the Lions to win their ninth game or whatever it was that year. And even though they didn't make the playoffs, carried the momentum into the next couple of years. We'll see if they play their starters all the way through as well.
I would assume they would. I mean, why wouldn't you? They also, I assume, do not want to head into an offseason off the back of 4 straight defeats, and just limp into the offseason. I would imagine they would like to go out there and end the season on a high note.
There's also, it's a bit of if we go back to week 2, this is where, remember the Lions won 52-21. And so narrative-wise at the time, Lions struggled in week 1 against the Packers. It's like, oh, no, you missed Ben Johnson. And then in week 2, you face Ben Johnson
everything
and the Bears. And it's like, oh, this offense is fine. We're in the dome. It's 52 points. We're still the same team.
Right.
And then over time, it's like, wait, Ben Johnson is quite the advantage for the Bears in this, and things are moving in the right direction for the Bears. And the Lions are just the thing about the Lions is like their high end games still look similar to when Ben was there, but there's too many duds in there, too many lulls for that offense.
Like, remember, week 1, 2 things happened. Number 1, the offense just didn't function, and number 2, the offensive line got wrecked.
Yeah.
And you're like, those are the 2 concerns going into the offseason, right? Or going into the season was, how much are you going to miss Ben Johnson, and is the offensive line now a weakness relative to previous years where it was like the top 2 offensive line in the NFL right there with the Eagles? Week 1, that absolutely happened. And then now they've been banged up on the offensive line. So you're sort of back to the same question. It's like the offense isn't quite what it was when Ben Johnson was there. And your offensive line is kind of banged up. And if Dan Skipper is your left tackle, and if, other like interior offensive linemen that are unproven are now out there trying to hold up against Chicago's defensive line, which admittedly, not the hardest defensive line in the world to stave off. But those are the 2 things that we were concerned about heading into the season, and now they're the 2 things we're concerned about at the end of the season.
We did get tagged as we make picks here. We did get tagged in a post. Where it said something, I don't have it in front of me, but something to the effect of Ben Johnson being asked about the hook and ladder.
Yeah.
And will that be a bigger factor going forward? And he basically says, sure hope so.
Yeah. He gave a much, obviously I have been pushing this, there's a whole world of unlocked potential if you just embrace lateral plays. Now, look, the risk is obvious. Jacksonville did it last week, and Travis Etienne couldn't catch a ball thrown right to his hands. And he therefore dropped it, fumble, turnover. That's a risk. It's a big risk for those plays, and that's why teams have not embraced it. Is it a bigger risk, however, than an option pitch or just a toss play to a running back? Like on any one of those plays, the running back can just drop the football. So if that's your concern, it's a risk anytime you don't hand it off directly.
It is a bigger risk than a toss play to a running back.
Is it?
Yes.
Prove it to me.
If you looked at the number of balls that hit the ground with a moving running, like a quarterback moving.
You're saying that with having not looked at that at all.
Yes, absolutely. Both players moving rather than just turning and tossing the ball. Yes.
Sounds intuitive, but you have no idea if that's true or not.
This is the equivalent of saying, are there more drops on a 15-yard out or on a screen pass?
Only people have looked at that.
Or how many, or incompletions, we should say.
That's the equivalent, except you haven't actually checked if that's true or not.
I haven't checked.
Yeah.
But
you just assume it is. Intuitively. Yeah.
I'm pretty confident, knowing what I know about football, that a 15-yard out has a lower completion percentage, Sam.
If you stripped away
than a screen pass, which is completed, say, 90. I know that dudes aren't hitting 15-yard outs 90% of the time.
No, we know that's true. That's what I'm saying. People have looked at that one. You haven't looked at this anyway.
All right. I shouldn't have brought this up.
If you stripped out pitchy woo-woo plays, which like almost always end in a fumble because, what
desperation.
Right. I don't know that that's true. The point is, Ben Johnson also believes there is an untapped world of extra offense. Kevin Kelly obviously has been running this for years in high school, and with everything he's been doing, there is a whole world of untapped potential in these pitch plays, and you see it much more now in the NFL. Teams are tapping into this. Ben Johnson is maybe the most trick play happy coach in all of football, and he's only just getting started with Chicago, who have a bunch of playmakers. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
More offseason talk. How do you incorporate this thing? All right, make a pick here. Bears by 3.
Chicago.
I'll take Detroit to finish strong here. At least cover. Close game. Play it out. Close game. Another game where I think, if both teams had more to, or if the Lions had more to play for, then you get robbed of a good game, a good narrative game.
I mean, I think they don't have anything to play for in terms of they can't get into the playoffs, but they have pride to play for, Steve.
More the injuries that are a factor for Detroit.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure. I don't think they're short of motivation.
Chicago looking to lock up that 2 seed and have some momentum heading into the playoffs. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage, but when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app, it makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. All right, Sam, believe it or not, there are 7 games left.
God.
We get 3 minutes per game, and we're out of here. You ready?
Yep.
Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Texans favored by 10.5 here. The end of the Phillip Rivers era again in Indianapolis. It will be Riley Leonard getting the start here.
Yeah, the end of the Rivers era. Old man Rivers is no more, heading back to his couch, and Riley Leonard plays the game. I think, obviously that's the right move because their season's over. There's no reason to play Phillip Rivers anymore, whereas Riley Leonard might have a future for the team. So, yeah, let's see what Riley Leonard can do with a start.
The worst, Houston could have a seed all the way down to 7, but if they win, they're the 5.
Okay.
Unless the Titans upset the Jags, in which the Texans could.
Because that would win them the division. Okay.
Could win the division.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's an outside chance that they could have the 3 seed here.
Okay.
Scenario-wise.
So they can be any of the wild card seeds because they're all tied?
Yes.
And the tiebreakers can change depending on who wins what?
Yes. So Houston would want to win.
Okay.
Houston wants to win this.
So they can be the 3, 5, 6, or 7, depending on how these games go.
Correct.
Right.
Can't be the 1 or the 2.
No.
Or the 4. The 4 is locked in for Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Houston, the most likely scenario here, they win this game.
Yeah.
The Jags beat the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans are the 5 seed going to Pittsburgh or Baltimore.
Yep.
Most likely scenario.
Which you would imagine they'd be pretty pleased by.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the place you'd want to be, seed-wise. Anyway, that's what they're playing for. Riley Leonard, what are we going to see from him? For Indianapolis, remember he was played at Duke, played at Notre Dame. They go to the championship game last year. They had that long drive to start the game against Ohio State where they go like 17 plays or whatever, and it's a lot of Riley Leonard. He's a better runner than thrower.
Yes.
Is the key here. He was seen as like a Daniel Jones-ish type of clone because of his size and athleticism and everything, but he's not as polished of a passer as Daniel Jones. He did play against Jacksonville a couple weeks ago in relief of Daniel Jones. Made a few nice throws. I think any pass game beyond 10 yards has been a bit of a chore timing and accuracy-wise for Riley Leonard. So that'd be the key for him development-wise, either in this game or going forward for his NFL future.
Yeah. I don't know that he can do much in this game to sort of determine his long-term future either way, but it's the first shot he's got to actually start a game. Unfortunately for him, it's coming against Houston's defense, which is nasty at pass rush, nasty on the back end. It's like when Max Brosman was starting against Seattle. It's like, I don't know what you're going to learn out of this other than he's probably not good enough to deal with this defense right now.
Yeah, so good luck with that. Indy, defensively, they hung tough last week against Jacksonville. Had Sauce Gardner back. They're solid on that side of the ball, but they also got torched on Monday night just a couple weeks ago against the Niners.
Yeah, I don't know if Sauce is playing this week. My assumption would be not on the basis that he didn't re-aggravate it, but it like tightened up on him, and they're like, quick, pull him out, precaution. So they like held him out of that game through precaution. I don't know if you, with a soft tissue injury with 1 week left with nothing to play for, like, do you put him out here and risk him again? Not that, he got a whole offseason to recover, so it would take something pretty spectacular to cause him problems for the offseason program. Or do you just look, there's nothing to play for, let's just shut them down. But the reason I'm talking about that is I think Sauce changes the way that defense plays. Like if he's out there, I think they get more aggressive. I think they blitz more. I think they bring a lot more in terms of pass rush and threat up front, which might be enough to, cause that Houston offense and Houston offensive line some real issues. If Sauce doesn't play, I think they get a lot more conservative and a lot more passive as a defense.
8 straight wins for the Texans, and when you go back and look through their season, really interesting because the last time they lost was with Davis Mills. Was that Davis Mills in the start or in relief of C.J. Stroud? I always forget if it was during the Broncos game. I think it was during the game, right? Last time they lost was against Denver. Two great defensive teams. They lost to Seattle, right? They've lost to the Rams way back in week 1. They've lost to the Jags. They've lost to good teams. They lost to the Bucs when the Bucs were decent back in week 2. But from 0-3 to now, winning their last 8, I think they'll finish strong here, lock up the 5 seed, and then potentially I think they're probably favored against the Steelers. We'll see about the Ravens.
Definitely favored.
Because when they played the Ravens the last time, it was with Cooper Rush, and they beat them 44-10. The Ravens defense was awful really awful during that stretch of play. But yeah, they're probably favored in their.
I think everybody's favored against
in their matchup
against those. Whoever comes out of that AFC North team, I think whoever is on the road there is favored.
And then I think for Houston, just staying healthy. Remember last week, Stingley, Lassiter,
Yeah.
All their defensive players at least missed a snap or two, went down. Just stay healthy, keep this defense intact. I want to see what this defense can do in the playoffs. If we, in a year where it feels less QB driven, and you mentioned the 2015 Broncos, the Texans, the Seahawks, there's a couple of these defense, the Broncos, that can make a run where you look back at the season and say, oh, that's an all-time team, right? If the Texans go on a 4-game stretch to the Super Bowl, it's an all-time defense, right? And I'm not saying that in hindsight. I'm saying, we're in it right now. This is a legitimate defense where if they put the playoff run together, it's an all-time group between their pass rush, what they can do on the back end. So they'll put I think they'll put a bow on their regular season here against the rookie, and we'll see if they cover the 10.5. But
I don't think there's any way teams do this, but if you're Houston, would you actually prefer the wild card to go to Pittsburgh or Baltimore versus winning the division? You could host a playoff game against a much better wild card team, or you could go on the road to the bad team.
You would probably host against the Chargers or maybe Buffalo.
Right.
But probably Buffalo. I would, even though they beat Buffalo on Thursday Night Football with Davis Mills and what they did to Josh Allen, I would not prefer that.
Yeah, I would much rather the road game against Pittsburgh.
Now, they're not – I don't think they're having those conversations.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
I don't think teams are doing that, but there's a world here where, because they're playing at the same time.
This is a fan discussion. If you're a Texans fan, would you rather go to Pittsburgh or Baltimore or host Buffalo?
Yeah, there's a world late in the game, somehow things have gone south in the other game, and Houston is sort of staring, it's a close game there, and they're staring a last couple of minute drive where, if we win this game, we actually end up in a worse position than we would be if we lost it.
Or you're scoreboard watching.
That's what I'm saying.
Hoping that Cam Ward and the Titans pull the upset against the Jags. Yeah, I don't know. Now, Steph Stradley, diehard Texans fan, she's saying we want to win. We want the home game because she likes to go to the games.
Sure.
And then you play out this scenario what if Denver gets upset? What if New England gets upset? And where all of a sudden the AFC Championship goes through Houston. There's that.
Well, that's the thing.
There's
also there's planning for what's the easiest game, and then there's planning for what's the easiest long-term path. If you want to make it to a Super Bowl, you assume you have to look beyond the first round of the playoffs anyway.
You can't run from Buffalo. You can't run from Denver. You can't run from anyone.
You can't do it for more than one game.
Right.
Eventually you're going to have to play somebody.
So it's just fan fodder. But anyway, make a pick. Houston by 10.5.
Houston.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one for Riley Leonard in his first career start. So Tennessee is going to Jacksonville. That is Sunday at 1. Jags are favored by 12.5. Jags, again, their scenarios, technically they could have the number 1 seed. That's probably out the window because they would need Denver to lose. Denver's playing the backups against the Chargers. But the Jags could have the 2 seed if New England were to fall against Miami. But given the fact that Denver's over 10-point favorites, New England's over 10-point favorites, the most likely scenario for the Jags here is they win and they have the 3 seed at worst. Mm-hmm. If they were to lose to Tennessee, if they did get upset this week, then that scenario we just talked about, they flip to either the 5 or the 6, and they have to go on the road. So they could be anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6, the Jags, this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, look,
But just take care of business, and you at least have the 3, and if some other upset happens, you get the 1 or the 2.
That's the thing. We sort of made this assumption last week, and Atlanta made it look ridiculous. But based off the run that Jacksonville is on right now and how good they look, there's no reason to think they won't beat Tennessee fairly comfortably. I mean, the last time they played, it was 25-3. I don't see any reason it would flip in the opposite direction than that. Like, Tennessee is nowhere near as good as Jacksonville. Jacksonville looks like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They don't really have a flaw currently, and the only potential flaw is what if Trevor Lawrence goes back to being average as opposed to looking amazing that he's looked in the last month plus of football. So it should be a routine win by numbers unless something weird happens.
It is wild that the Jags have 7 straight wins. The Texans have 8 straight wins.
Yeah, these are teams.
And the last time the Jags lost was to the Texans. It was that game.
Right.
36-29.
And then the flip side of that is the Colts have won, they're on 6 or 7 straight defeats. The last time they won was way back at that kind of time as well. Like, that division was done.
Completely flipped.
It was done in Indianapolis' favor at the midway point of the season, and suddenly 2 teams went on a run, and the other team lost all of their games.
Remember, the Jags were on the other side of that a couple years ago, where they were 8-3 and then lost out, kind of like what Indy is closing in on here. So, look, Jags are keeping momentum. Their biggest win was a couple weeks ago against Denver, but they handled Tennessee back in Week 13, 25-3. Would expect them to do the same. The number I wanted to put out there, though, that was felt this throughout the season as we were going through. Cam Ward, our old friend Timo Riska from PFF, put out a chart, which was NFL pass strength of schedule. So the strength of opponents on offense and defense. I thought it was just pass, but it says passed. Anyway, the Titans have faced the hardest defenses in the NFL. Like, by a mile. This chart has them way over to the right.
Right.
Facing the hardest defenses in the NFL. And it's like Texans twice. They've played the NFC West this year, which we didn't know they were going to be juggernauts in Seattle, the Rams.
Denver on the road. Cleveland on the road.
This first game, Denver on the road. At Cleveland is insane. Mm-hmm. Right? Cleveland's defense is awesome, but they're that much better even at home.
Seattle.
So
Kansas City.
Yeah, going into this offseason, when we talk about Cam Ward and this offense and what he's done between offensive line's been okay. They've got the rookie playmakers, have no Calvin Ridley. It has been as challenging as any run you'll see for any quarterback, never mind a rookie. And I know, I see a lot of discourse out there, Sam, and it's like, Cam Ward hasn't been good. Look at these stats. It's like, we talked about this yesterday, you can't take 1 second to just take one more step and look beyond that. Take one more step and stack up who Cam Ward and the Titans have played. And it's in another world as far as the defenses that they've played. And so are there still some concerns to Cam Ward's game going into next year? Absolutely. But it's been a challenge, and it's another challenge against the Jags this week.
Yeah, based off, once it became clear what he was working with in terms of supporting cast and everything around him, in the first half of the year, I was like, look, if he just survives this season, it became the Drake May situation from last year. It's like, look, just don't let it break you, right? Just get to the end of this year and don't have it creating more problems than the experience is worth. Don't have it entrenching bad habits. Don't start to, start watching for the pressure and don't develop any bad habits based off how bad everything around you is. The fact that not only is he surviving, but he's actually visibly improving in recent weeks, I think is huge for him. Again, like Drake May, it's like that situation was so bad, I didn't think they should even put him in as a rookie. And yet he actually looked pretty good in that situation. And a year later, he's leading the MVP voting or leading the MVP odds. I'm not saying Cam Ward's going to make that kind of jump in year 2, but that's the fact that survival was the goal and he's actually going beyond that and starting to look better, I think is hugely encouraging.
And they have a lot of draft capital. money to spend this offseason. Just an interesting offseason for the Titans, and I would say, more encouraging than not when it comes to Cam Ward. See if he could finish on a high note here. I expect the Jags to take care of business, keep bottling up Trevor Lawrence's play, and a couple bad throws in there last Sunday against the Colts, but he's been exceptional this last month or two. So
yeah, and rebounded from the Colts. I think did cause him some real problems in the first half, and then the second half really seemed to find his groove and go back to being really, really good again. So yeah, keeping Trevor Lawrence on whatever that hot streak is really important for Jacksonville.
Jags by 12.5 here. Playing to win. There's something on the line here for the Jags. You could ask the same question. Would you rather? They're not locked into the 5. They could be the 6, but would you rather be the 5 seed going on the road?
Tank the game to go down and
win,
play Pittsburgh?
You win and get the division. You want a home game in Jacksonville, which can be electric come playoff time. If you go back to 98, 99, it's electric playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
Beat the Steelers at home back in 2017.
Now, that was pre-swimming pool installs.
Was it? I thought they always had that.
Did they? No, those were
those new?
Yeah, they were like, this place sucks. Let's try and make it interesting by putting a swimming pool in the stand.
When you put the Santa hat on the Jag, that place was electric. All right. You don't have to look it up.
I have to look it up. It's crazy.
They beat the Titans 25-3 last time around.
Yeah, I think they win and cover.
I'll do that too. Jags by 12.5. I'll take the Jags. Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Rams favored by 7.5. It's Sunday at 4:25. Sean McVay says he's going to play the starters. Could rest them in the second half. Let's go through their scenarios. They're a 5 or a 6 here, the Rams. There are some scenarios that could put them in either spot. Their more likely scenario, though, is to be the 6. They could get the 5 in a couple different scenarios, depending on how it plays out.
Yeah. The Rams are now a very interesting team because they are, I think, 2 games away from being unquestionably seen as the best team in the NFL. If they didn't lose to Carolina, and then it's the two ridiculous NFC South losses.
Carolina,
they didn't lose to
Atlanta.
Carolina, and they didn't lose to Atlanta. I think we would unquestionably see this team as the best football team in the NFL, even with the loss to Seattle by a point, the way those 2 games went. I think this team would easily be seen as the best team of football. But you have those weird games against the teams that nobody can make any sense of, and now you're like, are there cracks? Are actually they a little bit more vulnerable than people thought they were? Is that offense now wobbling with starters missing? So, and I think that's real. Their offensive line lost 2 starters, and suddenly Matthew Stafford turned into a turnover machine in that game. DJ Humphries has gone from being a solid offensive tackle for most of his career to an absolute disaster right now. I don't know if that's just injuries or age or the combination of both, but he was rough in that game. Whereas Alaric Jackson has been, absolutely perfect for them this season.
So I would say in my monologue on Monday night when you weren't there, people didn't love this. I still think I trust the Rams more than any team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think that's crazy talk right now.
Who do you trust more than the Rams?
A lot of teams now.
I don't.
Well, it depends. If you give me their starting offensive line back, different story. If you're telling me that DJ Humphries might have to play football for them, I think they've got some
we're
problems.
talking, okay, yeah, he had an illegal formation that negated a touchdown. Those a little – my thing with the Rams is, and I know you could do this with every team, but I'm going to do it with the Rams. It was 5 plays against Carolina, 4 plays against Carolina, high leverage plays. It was insane, ridiculous plays against Seattle in the Thursday night football game. That were more on the luck side than bad. At least in the Carolina game, you say, well, this is bad. This is Stafford making a bad decision. This is their fault. Some of the Seattle stuff wasn't their fault. We're talking about the 2-point conversion, the stuff that needed to happen. And also, special teams.
Yes. Which they fixed. Fired the coach, block kick, it's done.
Now they're good. I still trust the Rams the most. Now, does he have some cluster turnovers? Yeah. That could show up a little bit. Didn't show up earlier in the year. Showed up against Carolina. Showed up against Atlanta the other night. Some cluster turnovers for Stafford. But as far as who do I trust offensively and defensively, I still think they're the most balanced team in the NFL. Offensively and defensively. The Eagles might have the best defense in the NFC. Don't trust their offense. The Niners or Bears could have the best offense in the NFC. Don't trust their defense. I trust the Rams as a complete team Seattle, by the way, probably has the best defense in the NFC, I should say. But as far as full trust in the offense and defense, I think the Rams are still number one for me. And they're going to have a 6 seed, most likely, going to Philadelphia. And you could lose in the first round. But I'm just telling you, trust them more than any other team.
Okay. I think that game showed some vulnerabilities that haven't necessarily showed up this season. Now they're playing the Cardinals, so
Make a pick. Cardinals have been awful lately, and we'll see what happens with Jonathan Gannon going forward. There was some kind of report, unconfirmed by me, that he'll be back and they'll make some offensive coordinator changes, whatever it might be.
Yeah, he was asked about it. He was like, "No, I feel pretty confident in my job." And they're like, "Have you?" Had discussions. Have you asked ownership effective? He's like, I'm not going to get into that, but all's good. So, look, it would be pretty harsh, I think, to fire him at this point. I know it's a bad season by them. They've absolutely disappointed, but generally they've been seen as a very well-coached football team under his leadership. I think you give him at least another year to see if this was just a bad blip and we can go in a different direction. But the fact that he's already getting that kind of pressure is certainly not good.
Yeah, my concern with the Cardinals, really quick, is they went from this feisty defense. They were doing creative stuff on defense, 3 safety looks, and they were playing above, they're punching above their weight. They were doing all these different things, and then they've had injuries and what have you, but that's disappeared. They've been getting run over these last couple of weeks. This last half of the season.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Like, the injuries are definitely a huge part of it. They added a ton of talent to that defense theoretically, and a lot of it isn't playing at the moment. So it's kind of like the Vikings, where on paper they overhauled their offensive line and fixed it. It's like, yeah, but we didn't see that for like the first half of the season because all those guys were injured. It's a bit like that for the Cardinals, where they added a ton of talent, and a lot of it is now hurt and not actually playing. So therefore, they didn't add that talent because it's not there. But yeah, I think he's got enough credit in the bank that he should have at least another season.
All right, man. Rams by 7.5 because Sean McVay was like he's the king of resting starters and getting ready for next week. If they're going to start, are they going to start and sit? We don't really know in this one.
Yeah.
There's a 5 seed to play for here, 5 versus 6. I have a feeling they're going to rest.
I would imagine the second he thinks there's any reason to rest people, those guys will be off the field. I'm going with the Cardinals either way.
Oh, dude, I'm still taking the Rams. The Cardinals have burnt me too many times this year. Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants, Sunday at 1. Dallas favored by 3.5. The rest of these games have no playoff implications whatsoever.
No implications for anything.
So just
nothing to play for.
There's a sack record. There's the number 1 overall pick. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Maybe Buffalo with some seeding. That's all we have left. Let's make a pick. Dallas and the Giants. The Giants still have a chance. If they were to lose and the Raiders were to win, I think they get the number 1 pick, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, they can still.
The Jets are out in the number 1 pick. Right.
They can still get it, but they probably won themselves out of it last week.
Probably.
And look, again, last week I think showed this Giants team has been better than, I think maybe, I'm not sure if they've been better than their record, but they've been better than the Raiders. They're not as bad as the Raiders have been this season. And they have been feisty, and they have beaten some good teams. And this is a division game.
You would, just comparing the Giants and the Raiders in this offseason, when you talk about if the head coaching job is available for the Raiders with Pete Carroll, the nucleus for the Giants, Jackson Dart, the running backs, the defensive line.
Yeah.
It's going to look a lot stronger. Malik Neighbors, it's going to look a lot stronger than some other teams picking in the top, even just in the top 10. Forget just the Raiders.
A bunch of their best players have not been there this year. Like, that's a huge part of this.
Yes.
The biggest disappointment for the Giants, it's the defense. Like, we looked at that defensive line on paper and the rest of the players that they've got in the back end. You're like, well, those two in combination, this could be a really good defense. They have, by far, the worst run defense in the NFL with the guy who might be the best nose tackle of all time. Like, these things shouldn't coexist. Like, they should be better against the run. And it's not like the pass game has been lights out either. Their defense, I think, has been the most disappointing element of the Giants.
Yeah, I agree. So that's where the new scheme, new coach, new defense, new everything with good talent. Intriguing offseason, I would say, for the Giants, and head coaching potential hire.
According to NGS, they're the only team in the NFL that is giving up more than 2 yards per carry before contact.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's awful. it's been rough. We'll see if Dallas plays it out. It does sound like Dak's going to play and have a football game.
It's got an MVP case to make.
Who said that? I saw that somewhere else.
I don't know.
I made the case yesterday. I mean, if you're really looking at it, the only reason why they're 7-8-1 is the defense. And Dak's had some rough games in there, but every quarterback has.
Sure.
He's been really good. Maybe the last game for George Pickens?
Maybe.
As a Cowboy?
Or they up him and give him a ton of money.
See what happens. Anything else worth watching in this one?
Not really.
It's 11:20. We get Texas Tech, man. They're warming up.
They're warming up. They're getting ready.
Dallas. We don't need VODs for these next 3 games.
No, God, no. Dallas to cover.
Yeah, I'll take Dallas as well to cover the hook. 3 and a hook. Stay healthy, Jackson Dart. Cleveland Browns coming to town to face the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday at 1.
Battle of Ohio.
Bengals favored by 7.5. Garrett watch continues. Myles Garrett still looking for that.
So you got one chance now.
Not for me, but like the rest of the NFL.
Do or die.
Would acknowledge this record. Not a 17.
It's kind of amazing that this record's had amazing staying power given the number of guys who've gotten close and then not gotten there.
Because you have games where the quarterback's like, I don't want to be the guy.
Yeah.
Except for Brett Favre. Brett Favre's the only guy who wants to be the guy.
I remember back when Jared Allen had a shot of it. He got like 3 sacks or something in a half against the Bears, and then the rest of that game looked like the Steelers game where they're like, he is not. The Bears basically spent the rest of that game saying Jared Allen is not breaking the sack record no matter what happens in this game.
Well, Myles Garrett might have a chance here because Joe Burrow's not scared. He said, I don't care. I'm playing football. And he said, sometimes taking a sack is the best of a bad play. So Joe Burrow's not afraid to get sacked.
No, he's not.
So he's going to stand in there. We're going to have some opportunities. There is a part of me. I do hope Garrett has like 5. Just 27 sacks to finish the season. Make it
That's the funny thing. It's like obviously teams don't want him to break the sack record. So we're like right on the precipice of maybe he doesn't get it at all and it's just the next guy to get really close. Or he could have 6 sacks in a game because he's Myles Garrett and anything could happen.
Never know.
It's like this could be a razor-thin thing where he makes it a dozen, or it could be he blows the sack record out of the stratosphere with a monster game.
With nothing on the line, though, it is actually, fun game. I think, the Bengals offense is still really good with Burrow and Higgins and Chase.
It's like strength on strength against weakness on weakness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that side of the ball will be a fun watch. Burrow's had some struggles against Cleveland's defense through the years. And then on the other side, you've got Shedeur Sanders, last chance to watch him going up against this Bengals defense. Again, I thought Shedeur played well outside of 2 terrible throws last week against Pittsburgh. One was an arm punt.
Kurt Warner analysis.
Yes. But these are worse than the Purdy ones, man.
Sure. Yeah. They were bad.
One that should have been a pick 6.
I still don't understand what the arm punt thing was. I don't know what he was doing in that play.
Yeah.
You see Deion's reaction to that, by the way? He's sitting in a box or whatever. He's just a hat over his head, like, oh, what the hell was that? So I understand it, yeah.
Never did that at Colorado.
No.
When I was the head coach.
Yeah.
We did talk about that. Josina being like, when does this man get the NFL head coaching? We already did that Monday?
Yeah.
We did that bit.
We definitely brought it up, yeah. I mean, that's another thing to come from this game. You get the fun of watching what Josina Anderson's Twitter stream is going to be like.
We should do for our members, just for our.
That should be your second screen. If you could just have her Twitter feed on the side.
Let's do Josina bingo. If we had a bingo card, Shedeur throws an interception, Josina blames the receiver or someone else. Josina predicts
screen goes
Deion
for a touchdown.
Sanders.
Look at this perfect play.
Deion Sanders failing upward in the coaching ranks prediction.
It's time to get rid of Tomlin and put Deion into charge.
Yes. Deion to the Giants, Deion to the Steelers, Deion to the Browns. Oh, man.
Deion to the Browns is definitely, she's got to have tweeted that already. Stefanski's been
she's already
sabotaging Shedeur from day one. It's time to get him out and put his dad in there.
Already laid the groundwork that Stefanski's on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's been built. She has to have made this tweet
already. She's connecting those dots.
She's got to have already tweeted that Deion should be taken over.
She's got Belichick interviewing in Cleveland and New York. She's just stuff's being chucked at the wall, man. It's great. So a Josina bingo would be would be Week 18 fun, I would say, for this game. What else? Shedeur run. Oh, you told me Shedeur was slow. Well, he just had an 8-yard run against the Bengals.
Right.
He just juked one of the Bengals linebackers
Watch
who has
him
97
outrun.
missed tackles.
Watch him outrun B.J. Hill.
It's going to be good. Anyway, Shedeur's coming to town. You should take him out to Skyline.
I don't think he'd eat at Skyline.
Probably not.
Yeah.
He'll be at Ruby's, I'm sure. He'll do a little Saturday night. Ruby's. All right. Anything else on this one?
No, I mean, it is kind of fun matchup. Like, you've got a good Bengals offense against a good Cleveland defense, and then a reasonably weak Browns offense against a reasonably weak Bengals defense. Like, it's actually a pretty fun matchup on both sides of the ball for different reasons.
Division game.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
What's the weather like this weekend? It's cold, right?
It's freezing out there right now. It's not as windy as it was. I mean,
Dude, the entire trip back, the entire country was just like blasting wind at 20 degrees.
You missed the
for
2
11
days.
and a half hours.
Sunday, it was 70.
Yeah.
Sunday,
No, I know.
I was like, this is,
Yeah.
I feel spring in the air. I woke up Monday morning, came in here, and I was like, oh, it's in the 20s, so that's a big drop off.
Yeah.
But it was like a 50-mile-an-hour wind.
Right. Now imagine that wind across 700 miles of open country at 20 degrees.
Oh, you drove through all the wind.
Yes.
You're saying. Okay.
Every time I got out of the car,
Yeah, that's
it's
rough.
like it's 20 degrees and there's a howling wind. It was freezing.
It was freezing. Yeah.
Also, I sent you that
But it
video.
was 70 the day before here.
I sent you that video of my dad decided that we had to drive his ridiculous 1930s old car that's like a death trap in the freezing cold. He's like, no, we'll just take it around the block. I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm in the Sherpa jacket and a hat and gloves, right? And this thing, there's no side to it, so you can just fall out at any point, right? There's no seat belts because it was the 1930s, and who cares?
Who needs seat belts?
And there's like a tiny little wind thing at the front. And I'm like freezing to death. It was the coldest I've been since that Buffalo Patriots game back whenever the hell that was, in 09. And I honestly think it's left a permanent, like, it's changed my internal
Just
temperature.
chill, nonstop chill.
Since that point, right? And we were out for like 10 minutes, right? In the freezing cold, dying. And since I've been back from that, I'm now cold all the time. My house, the basement is usually colder than, because heat rises.
Right.
So we have, and it's set at the same temperature it's normally set at. And I'm like, it is freezing in this house. What has happened? I think driving in that MG for like 10 minutes has left a permanent change in my internal physiology.
That was days ago.
Yes, that was like a week ago at this point. Anyway, it's going to be 20-something degrees here. It's going to be cold.
I see a high of 37.
No, okay, whatever.
Not too bad. Low of 23. Sunday, mostly sunny.
Yeah.
Partly cloudy, mostly sunny. We're back to that again.
Browns cover.
I'll take the Bengals. Let's go. Garrett, 3 sacks. Emphatic.
3 sacks.
Emphatic finish to the season for Myles Garrett. 2 more games. Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. Chiefs favored by 5.5. Number 1 pick watch here. Raiders at 2-14. The 6-10 Chiefs haven't won since Mahomes got hurt.
This is a real Week 18 matchup.
Sure is.
We're getting Chris Oladukin against Aiden O'Connell, maybe.
Yeah, some apparent combination of Kenny Pickett and or Aiden O'Connell.
Sure.
For the Raiders.
Why not?
Raiders already got ahead of things, shutting down Max Crosby, Brock Bowers. Kansas City hung tough against Denver, but it was more their defense keeping things in it, but not really. It was more a couple play, tipped passes here and there, but offense hasn't gotten much going. I mean, they've been working with backup offensive linemen, no Rashee Rice, no Tyquan Thornton, so they're working with backups. Could be Travis Kelce's final game. We don't know, so that's the other story to watch here. If the Raiders lose, of course, they'll be locked into the number 1 pick.
This has the same over-under as the Max Brosmer Clayton Tune game from earlier, where it's like Vegas is expecting no points to be scored at all.
9-6.
36 is basically as low as it goes. They just don't believe that NFL games score lower than 36. That's just like the baseline of how low it's going to get. But this is basically the lowest possible and like level that of points that is expected to be in existence in a dome.
Oladukin, they've shown some flashes. Scramble drill, nothing within structure has looked that great.
I mean, he
Kansas
looks like
City.
a college quarterback. Like he looks like a guy who's a great athlete, who's got the tools to make it work, but cannot play within an NFL offense right now.
Right. So third string there against the backup for the Raiders. Raiders, they could actually win this game. and screw up the number 1 pick
I'm a lot more interested
because of
in
Kansas City's offense right now?
I'm a lot more interested in it on that side if Aiden O'Connell plays a significant part of this game. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I would have been saying all season long, Kenny Pickett probably can't be worse than Geno Smith based off how Geno Smith is playing. And yet anytime Kenny Pickett has come in, he's looked at least as bad as Geno Smith. So I'm not making that case. I might make it for Aiden O'Connell, though. I mean, Aiden O'Connell is at least going to YOLO out and let's just start slinging it. See what can happen.
He won the game against Kansas City on Christmas a couple years ago where he didn't complete a pass in the second half, or even like since the second quarter, and they won. Did they win or lose that 3-0 game against Minnesota?
Plus, he's got the mustache working for him.
But then he's got these other high-end games too.
Yeah,
right. He's had really good games against Kansas City where he hit some big time
wildly
throws.
Inconsistent. I mean, he's not particularly good, but he is at least
Fun.
Again. He's like a Ryan Fitzpatrick for the modern era, complete with the comedy facial hair, like the mustache plus the YOLO. It's at least fun to watch, and sometimes the YOLO is going to break your way, and you're going to get good end of the variance. And again, the baseline is very, very low. So why the hell not? Let's just throw him out there, see what happens.
There we go. So the next Fitzmagic here, maybe playing for the Raiders.
I mean, he's not as good as Fitzpatrick.
No.
Sadly for him.
Do you want to make a pick?
Raiders.
Do
Yeah.
you think they screw the number 1 pick over? Do you think they really blow it?
That would suck for them. But
because the next thing, the last time a team felt a little tanky, and actually was the Eagles that Sunday night game.
Oh, they
put in Nate Sudfeld,
right.
and it was like the most.
They deliberately lost the game late in order to move up in the draft, and that was big.
Are the Raiders at that point though? Because to do that, it would be like 3rd and 9, draw. I mean, what the Eagles did was they put in Nate Sudfeld in the second half.
They pulled their starting quarterback.
They pulled their starters while they were winning.
Yes,
and then 3rd and longs, they were like, screen sounds like a good call here. Like if we don't throw beyond the sticks.
That's as blatant as a team has tanked in like decades.
But if you're the Raiders, I don't think you don't want to take a chance and have the number 2 pick here.
No, you don't. I mean, that's why they've shut everybody down. So they're not at risk of winning these games. Now the problem is you get to a game in late in the third quarter and it turns out you're winning. Like, what do you do? One of the things about that Eagles decision is you need to have institutional stability to do something like that, right? Like everyone's job needs to be very secure for you to be making that kind of move to do that. Can you say that about the Raiders?
But it wasn't. Doug Peterson got fired after that, right? That was Peterson.
But
still
the decision would have come from higher than that. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
The point is, I don't know that you can say that about any part of the Raiders.
No, you have that with the John Spytek at GM. I think is safe. The unsafe.
Maybe for now, but like
he's safe. That's Brady's guy. He's safe. The unsafe person is Pete Carroll, the entire coaching staff.
Yeah. So they're probably not making.
But that's where Pete
Carroll's also the kind of guy who,
if he goes full Lovie Smith, Pete's not.
Right. He's also the kind of guy who, even if the decision comes from above, might just tell him to get stuffed.
Yeah. Not that it matters. I mean, at some point, you think that the Raiders would show more life than they did. Would they show 8 quarters of life this season?
Yeah, like that.
8 quarters. Right. In week 18. Anyway, you got the Raiders this week, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it covered
5.5 is a lot. I'll take the Raiders, too.
That's what I'm saying.
It's going to be interesting, though, if they accidentally win.
Because God knows that's the only way they're winning.
Because it probably then costs them draft picks if they want to get to 1. Again, it's just a lot. There's a lot on the line again.
What's their other because they beat the Patriots week 1. What was their other win? Oh, Tennessee. That makes sense.
Makes sense. Last game, New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. Bills favored by 7.5.
Yeah, and we're not sure what they're resting.
I think they're probably resting. I don't know.
Because they can. I mean, they're in this weird world where they can move seating, but not dramatically.
Yeah, they would they love to get up to the 5? Yes, but they would need Houston to lose, and they would need the Chargers to lose, which is probably going to happen. So they're probably locked into the 6, the Chargers the 7.
Assuming they play it out, or they could just see what happens with backups, and they might be the 5, the 6, or the 7.
The Jets talked about their pass defense being the 5th worst in Aaron Schatz's DVOA in history, which goes back to the late 70s. They have a touchdown to interception ratio against them of 32-0.
Yeah, they're like the second worst defense in the NFL in terms of giving up passing touchdowns, and they have yet to record an interception.
So that's what I'll be watching for. The Myles Garrett sack record, and then will the Jets get their first interception of the season?
Or have an infinite touchdown-interception ratio against them for the year.
Which, ironically, Justin Fields had for a while. He was at 4-0. He had the best on the other end.
Under the tutelage, under the stewardship of a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, it's not
I
great.
mean, again, I'm not saying either way whether Aaron Glenn should be fired or be given more, but it's not a good look. You know, you bring in a defensive-minded head coach, and he presides over like one of the worst pass defenses in the history of the game.
Jets currently locked into number 3 overall pick here. But, yeah, they weren't good early on, and then they gave up Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. You opted into this. You know what you were getting into. It's an organizational move to look to the future,
and by the way, their Sauce Gardner draft pick has only ever moved in their direction from trading that.
It's a good point. I haven't even thought of that that much.
That was looking awful for a while when they were like the Colts were, picking 30 or whatever.
It's a great point. They're up to 18 right now, which at the time, the Colts were like 8-2,
right?
Whatever, 8-1.
They had like the second best record in the game or something. It was like that pick's going to be the bottom of the first round.
They could be up as high as 14 or 15 by the end of the weekend here.
And their pick has moved to the third. Like they've all of a sudden, become a really big player at that. I mean, they could, if the Raiders want to take a draft haul instead of drafting a quarterback, if the Giants get the number 1 pick and they don't, they're happy with Jackson Dart, like all of the Jets have the ammunition as much as anybody to be able to go and get that guy if they want him.
If we see Mitch Trubisky this weekend, there's a chance they get their first interception. That's the.
Why you gotta throw Mitch under the bus like that?
I'm just saying. I mean, okay, if Josh Allen plays, there's a chance they get their first interception. How about that?
Mitch he's out there doing TV commercials. He's doing great for himself.
The backup QB commercials?
Yeah.
I was trying to call.
He's the guy with the drive-through line guy.
I was trying to call Bruce Christmas Eve night when wife's sick. She left half the presents unwrapped and was like, "Go get him." I'm like, "This would be perfect for the backup QB commercial. Call someone in." Bruce.
Backup gift wrapper?
Yes, I needed someone. I was up till 4. Christmas Eve. You haven't recovered. You haven't defrosted yet. I still haven't recovered from sleep from being Santa.
I swear I'm operating at different internal temperature since that.
Let me get my scenarios out here. Hey, what are you looking for in this game? This is really quick. This is how many regular season games are there? This is the last regular season game preview. We skimped on 3. We did not preview the 3
incomplete
Christmas games. Never showed up anywhere. We'll never get them back.
We'll never hear.
But this will be the last game preview of the regular season.
Wow.
How many games have we previewed this year?
This is also. Oh, no, it's on the. Yeah. This is the last game in Buffalo, right? The new stadium.
Yes. Is it a dome? It's open, right?
It's one of those like halfway houses. Yeah, it's like
Dallas used to be.
It's like an enclosed thing, but there's some kind of space or something.
You should have wind and Allen's going to put up monster.
They're making a dome. Kansas City, when they're moving to Kansas, it's going to be a dome.
That's stupid. It's terrible.
It is.
Terrible. They should not be allowed to do that.
And yet here they are. Not only that, but it's like the people at Kansas are coughing up a ton of money for it as well. Brutal.
Buffalo's most likely scenario is the 7 seed. Well, no.
That's assuming.
Most likely it's the 6 seed.
Probably.
Because the Chargers almost certainly are going to lose.
Yeah.
Buffalo's probably going to win.
The key feature of this stadium apparently is wind shielding, which is perforated metal panels on the facade are engineered to reduce wind impact inside. So it's outdoors, but it's got windbreakers.
Yeah, Allen's numbers are going to go nuts. I'm serious.
He's going to go on a run of like 4 straight MVPs. With
the number of games that Josh Allen had to play in like 30 and 40 mile an hour winds, and it has barely put a dent in his numbers.
Yeah,
we don't factor that in enough.
We don't. We're witnessing the greatest quarterback of all time, and he's out here. Yeah. You don't see it because he's playing in the wind,
doing it in the elements.
Yeah,
and so the dome's he's gonna rattle off 4
Not
straight
a dome,
MVPs.
Just windbreakers.
The windbreakers are gonna
the engineered facade.
Yes. We need to get what's his face on Ariel.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the other day. If they get into another run here, maybe the Super Bowl, whatever.
Oh, if they go on a run the playoffs, Ariel will be dialed up.
All right.
Huge Bills fan.
Make a pick.
Buffalo.
Even if they're resting players.
Yeah, I don't care who starts. They're beating the Jets by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo. There we go. A lot at stake here for you, for your picks. Me?
Really?
I need
not much.
I got to try to break the tiebreaker with my 10-year-old.
My charge died a couple of weeks ago when I had that really rough game.
I can't wait to. So I'll check out what Harry has. But there'll probably be 4 or 5 games that will determine whether or not I win against my 10-year-old son here. So
how are you going to play that? You got. What you should do is you should just match his picks, except the one game you're most confident in.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And then beat him by 1.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Did I beat him? I beat him last year, I think, right? So we have bowl picks going right now as a family. Benny's in first place.
Wow.
The whole family.
You're just a whole family of.
They're all degenerates.
Yeah.
So Harry's playing ESPN fantasy basketball under my email, of course. And I keep getting these trade rejections sent back to me. He keeps asking for like the best players in the league for his 10th best player.
I think if you don't ask, you
Straight
don't get.
Up. I was like, Harry, you cannot.
It's like
you can't trade Tobias Harris for like Jokic or whatever he's trying to offer.
House. You put in an insulting offer. What's the worst that can happen? They tell you no, and you come in with the
Could
next.
Could you
offer.
at least try a 2-for-1 trade, please? I keep getting these rejections sent back to me. So. Not great.
If you don't ask, you don't get. You gotta throw it out there. Shoot your shot.
Oh man. But yeah, bowl picks going great. Anyway, that's it, man. Week 18, regular season, a lot of fun. Got these games. Last year we were going to Circa.
Yeah.
Week 18. We're not. We'll be at home. So yeah, looking forward to Saturday and Sunday. Of course, we'll recap everything Monday morning, 7 a.m. Actually, no. Are we gonna do it?
What?
We going to go live Sunday night?
Sure.
All right. This week's review show, mark it down. Stay up with us. Last year, we were in Circa, and we just went live at the end of Sunday Night Football, Lions and Vikings. We're going to do that this year. So Week 18, our Week 18 review is going to be live Sunday night. As soon as Ravens-Steelers finishes, we will go live, and we'll do the whole 3-hour review show Sunday night. So if you're a Monday morning listener, you can still wake up and listen to us.
Yeah.
Watch us.
It'll be
whatever.
out there. We just won't
It'll be
live.
out there, but we'll be live Sunday night instead of Monday morning. Right? We'll stay up late Sunday night. So the Week 18 review will be live Sunday night. We'll have the normal instant reaction Sunday after the 4 o'clock games. We'll do a Saturday night instant reaction after the 2 games. But Sunday night will be the review show. So not live Monday morning. It'll be Sunday night this week. So it'll be earlier.
Yep.
Go right into it. All right. Sound good, everybody? Happy New Year. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you again Sunday night, Week 18 review.